Ali, 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 yeah. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. I praise Allah for these lessons. I'm striving to be the message, and I thank Allah for his blessings. Ali was the circle 7. Shemotepu family, on the rise upon the 7, again, and give all praises to the great God, whom we know as Allah. Honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to the ancestors and all of those who came throughout the climb and the times being masterminds and so forth and so on. You know, and honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. Give honors to our Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything. And I do mean everything the ancestors brought to make us a nation. I want to give honors to you, family, as we rise upon that 7 again within the circle of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, i.e. harmony, truth, balance, right, order, and justice, family. You know, and it don't get no better. And y'all already know what time it is. We had a grand measure last night. So I decided to follow up, you know, with something else, even more fulfilling than that is special drawing. And this is going to be a powerful measure. It won't be as long as last night, but it's definitely going to be a strong measure. So it's hopefully this would answer some questions for our family about it. A lot of the teachings that we draw on, you know, the way that we teach, you know, in this particular paradigm, you know, it just all I can say is there's more wisdom by our people to be learned, you know, if they're willing to learn. You see, these measures are most definitely not for the weak, but for those who seek to be conscious of themselves. And that's all we're dealing with, trying to teach our people how to reflect along the lines of self-mastery. You know, that's what we are encouraging our families to come into the knowledge of. We're not trying to browbeat you with religion. We're not trying to take you, you know, into a spiritual system that you don't want to embrace. We're simply giving ones keys that they may be able to take and utilize for themselves. And we also showing you that this ain't something that's just made up per se, but all of this information that we draw upon, you know, is actually information that can be traced back to the ancestors in many different ways. And the paradigm that we draw off, dealing with the Moorish concept, we honor all of those teachings that will make the life of good men better, and women as well. We don't put the gender above the other, because we know that in spirit there is no gender. Spirit is what it is. And so when we come to that special understanding in every aspect of life, then we come into a clear conception of the concept that our ancestors taught in ancient Egypt, which is called co-regency. That's when the man and the woman is able to sit on the throne together and rule together. That's what I'm talking about as gods and goddesses. So be sure to hit the like, the share, and the subscribe buttons, family. Let them know that we here. Our channel is most definitely Commission Adept Heruphant, just dealing with the name. And we got some grand insight. Hopefully we're going to turn the light on within the consciousness of our people and take them a little bit further than they may have been before they get this particular drawing that we getting ready to bring forth. So again, tell a friend, let them know that we in here getting it in, and y'all already know it's gonna be a grand drawing. So all I ask is, if you would like to participate, come on in. We gonna let you come in here and give your measure too, because we want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear what it is that you have to bring forth. You see, that's how we demonstrate over here. There ain't no big eyes and small U's, and we don't put ourselves on no pedestal to the extent to where we feel like that we don't want to hear what our people want to say. That's never been my position. It never will be my position, because I'm looking to bridge the gaps. That's what all of these things are about, and that's what these things relate to when it comes to where I'm coming from. I'm trying to bridge the gap. I want to show our people what we are one. So we got a grand subject matter to bring forth, and y'all already see it. I put it out there. We ain't shy about it. We got some grand measures to bring to you. And hopefully, again, it's going to remove the cobwebs of confusion that most of our people have been suffering from. It's been a lot of misunderstanding about what the truth is and what it is that we should be dedicated to. Well, I'm not here to tell one what they should be dedicated to. But like I said, I'm going to give my little portion. If that add on, if that aid and assist you along the way, I ain't trying to take credit for that. I'm just here to, again, inspire. At least that's the goal, to inspire our people. So if you was on last night, this is going to follow up, but go further into Kemet. You will see how a lot of the teachings of Kemet that we were speaking of last night carried over, into the tradition of the Setter people who came from the Satar, are those priests, or the priesthood of Kemet. So when you look at our subject title, as we have it up here, we're dealing with the Grand Heruphant and the ancient order of the Egyptian Adepts. Again, that's the Grand Heruphant of the ancient order of the Egyptian Adepts. So what do we mean when we say this? Is there such a thing? Did this ever exist in ancient Kemet? This is often the question that our people ask. Is there such thing as a Grand Heruphant? Is there such thing, as an ancient order of Egyptian adepts? And we use the term, based upon the way our prophet brought it back to us. But Commission Adept is basically along the same lines. One thing that we have to honor is that when teachings come to people, they often come to people in the language that they express. So the way that we express ourselves in languages today, that's why we call things certain uh, titles, certain expressions we use to express these titles. And so once we understand that right there, we can get past the pettiness of semantics and get into what's really going on. A Heruphant is one that has often been known as what is a revealer of the mysteries, revealer of teachings that are not commonly accessible for the common masses. So an Heruphant is not one who keeps secrets. A Heruphant is a revealer of the light, basically. We are revealers of the light. Throughout history, no matter what people believe or whatever book they came through, there was always a high priest among that particular people. And those high priests were often considered the Heruphants. They were the ones who were revealing certain teachings to people. Y'all heard me mention a couple of times, they talk about in a lot of these different books, whether you go into what they call Buddhism, or whether you go into, texts of Hinduism, whether you go into texts of, we can go into Sufism, anywhere you go, all of those who would be teachers that would be raising the people up, no matter what doctrine they come from, they can all be referred to as Heruphants in their own particular way. In specific, we're talking about the Heruphants that started it all, the Egyptian Heruphants. And as you can see as well, it states right there flowing across the screen in the banner, the cyclic 7 of the Egyptian cosmology and the animated universe. We're going to get into that and give y'all some insight. You already know we're going to share the screen in a minute and go even further. So what is it that we are here to study? What is it that we are here to learn? Where do we come from? Who are we? These are the main questions that most people have. And so we come into this world on a journey to know the self. In ancient Kemet, this was referred to as Sheduneta. They like to translate it, in the corrupt Greek as Sutanoti. You see, the same concept or the same principle, know thyself. So these represent different degrees through which man can unfold. And these degrees of unfoldment that deal with the knowledge of self is often based upon cosmology. What we call in ancient Kemet the Amduat, right? And we're going to touch on a little bit of that in this particular measure. You see, and this is where you get into the cyclic 7 of the Egyptian cosmology and animated universe. Now, this didn't start, with the MST of A, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. This started with the ancestors. We see the sacredness, and you always hear me talk about rising upon the 7. You always hear me saying that the 7 is the only thing that can unite us as a people, and that's on all levels, because it has to do with, 7 stages of consciousness and unfoldment. How can these things be used to uplift you? That's the question. It helps you master yourself so that you may be able to better deal with those who are in your surroundings. Now, some of us may feel like we don't need to have that type of knowledge. We know what we're doing. We know right from wrong. Okay, that's all well. But some of us may want to go an extra mile, and actually become masters of our own destiny. Be able to will things into existence. Be able to bring things, into a higher state of a conscious reality. Some of us want to learn that. So that's how you can use this information to aid and assist you. If you ask that, how can I use this information? It helps you to be better, and it helps you again to become stronger in certain situations so that you can be a conqueror, so that you can be victorious in every aspect of life, so that you can be inspired, as a mastermind to be able to change your condition and also maybe the conditions of the people around you, just like all the other Heruphants did in the past. We ain't getting spooky on you, but we're going to show you some things, and it's up to y'all, that's listening, and within the sounds of my voice to go into this particular information as I move. And I'm going to move apace, gradually, so we don't lose any of our family that may not be familiar with the terminology that we use. This will be a fulfilling measure, though. So I want to start here because we spoke last night on the Sidra cosmology, and we spoke upon Sirius, this particular star. Now, we can go into all that. It's known as the dog star in West Africa. And this is just one of the many stars in the Anduat. We even spoke on Set last night, Saptuit. All of this has to do with self. Now, I want you to remember this diagram right here, that's based upon the stars. Now, we hear scientists tell us through the process of panspermia, that we come from stardust. This is one of the means of how we came into existence. In ancient Kemet, there's a grand relation when it deals with the Neteru and them passing on to the afterlife. And it is said that they go back into the Amduat, which even though we see it as up, it's often referred to at times as even the underworld or Amenti. You see? And you see here you have Sirius, Orion, Pleiades, Thuban or Draco, constellation Draco. You see the Big Dipper, Little Dipper expression up there. You see it, same type of expression, but right here, these are gateways within a symbolic pyramid, so to speak, within the universe itself. Now, it's not strange because we talked about the Sira people, and they actually had a pyramid that represented the cosmology as well. So we see the same science dealing with cosmology in general, and in most cases, when you deal with like the Pleiades constellation, you got like 7 stars, right? You deal with, like I said earlier, the Big Dipper, you got 7 stars. You see, and so we're going to touch on some of that in a minute. I just wanted to start right here. And notice that their comparison here is actually dealing with the Queen's Chamber, and the King's Chamber. And you also have the subterranean vault that goes down beneath the pyramid. And it's even said that it is as much pyramid beneath it as it is above it, so to speak, giving it somewhat like a diamond shape, but that's a whole nother measure. So keep that diagram in mind as we move forward. And again, anytime you're talking about the Amduat, you're basically speaking on the heavens. You're speaking on, the different constellations, the fixed signs. You're speaking on what some people like to call, in the English version, the world of little animals or zodiac or whatever. We call it the Dendera, a Tentera, right? This is what we call it from a Kemetic standpoint. So we showed you this already, but we're going to go a little further. Let me move to my next measure because that brings me back here, and I showed y'all this before. going to go into the Egyptian Adept rite of self-initiation and take our family into certain aspects of this, and we're going to go a little further. And we always show our family, the layout of the, let me make sure my screen is sharing real quick. Give me 1 second. I hate to be up here speaking and my screen ain't shared. Okay, there we go, right there. So yeah, like I was saying, again, this is what we was referring to earlier. This is what I like to call a cosmological blueprint, of a pyramid, within the heavens, so to speak. All of this is symbolic and has meaning behind it. Like I was telling you, you got the king's chamber, which is here. You got the queen's chamber, which is here. And you got the subterranean vault. I want you to remember this diagram, that has been placed here, because we're going to follow this theme into our next measure. Here you have, in the particular work that deal with our rite of self-initiation, the Egyptian Adept rite of self-initiation. We always show you these diagrams here, but we're going to go to one that actually look like that, and this is actually dealing with the entryway into the pyramids and how you come out of them and so forth and so on. So this is basically a floor plan, so to speak, of the Great Pyramid, that's showing the king's chamber, queen's chamber, subterranean chamber, and all these things represent what we call spiritual, mental, and physical degrees. You see? Spiritual, mental, and physical degrees. That's what they represent. If you want to get into the aspect, you are the temple of perfection. Keep that in mind. How is this knowledge necessary? Because everything down here has to do with, in most cases, what they call even burial chamber. But when you come up here in this particular area here, out of that special chamber, and you see that the queen's chamber is something that has to do with a state of elevation, then you move to the next level. Then you understand when you hear people talking about 3 steps on the master's carpet, 3 different degrees of unfoldment. That's all a part of life. You see the concept, of 3. But let me move on, because that 3 is also, in this pyramidal form, it's attached to a base that deal with 4. So in all actuality, that's 7. 3 and 4 is 7. But there are 2 chambers above the surface level, so to speak, above the subterranean, and they are also said to be 5, hidden areas that deal with allowing light to shine through the pyramid. That's a whole nother lesson, but 5 and 2 is 7 as well, huh? So in our book, the Moorish Holy Quran, Mathino, who was actually the Egyptian priest, according to our Moorish Holy Quran, he made this statement. He said, "Behold, this land of Egypt of the dead, our temples long have been the tombs of hidden things of our time, our hidden things of time. Our temple, our crypts and caves are dark. In light, there is no secret thing. The sun reveals all hidden truth. There are no mysteries in Allah. Behold the rising sun. His beams are entering every door. Yes, every crevice of the mystic crypts of MISRAIM. We hail the light. All Egypt craves the light." Now, another statement in reference to the concept of MISRAIM has to do with Mesurah, or Mesra, some people like to say. But that's a whole nother measure. Or even Mazaroth is connected to that special statement. there's a question in the Piscean record of the Bible: who is able to place, Mazzaro in the earth? And I'm gonna show you this right here. Show you certain things that they don't talk about, and a lot of Christians get spooky when we get into this area here, because they believe that dealing with the stars is something that's supposed to be devilish. But when you look it up, the Hebrew word for Mazarat, or Mazaroth, right, is a biblical Hebrew name found in the book of Job 38:32, and literally mean constellations, right? So why is the Most High questioning man about the constellations? You see? Ask that question. Let me see if she'll pull it up right here. You see? So if it is spoke of here, why was man being questioned, in regards to dealing with this? So let me go here. I'm going to try to see if I can pull this up for you real quick before I go further into it. I'm just showing the people that may be biblically inclined a particular portion so that they can follow us too. We ain't getting spooky on you. We ain't getting religious on you either. You see what it says? Can you lead forth a constellation? And this is an amplified Bible definition. They done changed the word up. But it says, can you lead forth a constellation in its season and guide the stars of the bear with her sons? Do you know the ordinances of the heavens? Or can you establish their rule over the earth? So this is somebody that's trying to sugarcoat it. You see? Let's go and see what King James said. It says, canst thou bring forth Mazaroth in his season? And canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons? Right? Let's go further into this thing here. I hate when they do this. Somebody always trying to put these stop you from going in here with these ad blockers. Let's see what it do again. It's gonna come back up again most likely. Oh no, it looked like it let me go. So anyway, I was trying to show you this part right here where it actually goes on. It says, canst thou bring forth Mazzaro in his season, or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons, and knowest thou the ordinances of heaven? Canst thou set the dominion thereof in the earth? Can you set the dominion of the stars in the earth? Can you show us how these things are connected, as it is above and so below? And even right before that, it said, canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? These are the same things that were shown up here. This is Orion, right? Then you have Pleiades up here, Sirius here, and there it is, your constellation Draco. It ain't strange when you deal with the constellation Draco, because the constellation Draco is also synonymous with that scimitar. But that's a whole nother measure. We ain't talking about the Draco they got out there with ammunition that you put in it. That's a different type of scimitar. But nevertheless, when we come over here, here's another diagram. And all of this is basically showing, first and foremost, that we teach that Prophet Noble Drew Ali, as far as how it was passed down to us, he was initiated. You can see the secret passages beneath the Sphinx. All you got to do is look this stuff up. This stuff is not pseudo. There is an underground entrance that goes from, the Sphinx all the way to the pyramids. And that's what this is basically a map of, which we done showed that to our people a couple of times. This is what it looked like from the entry, the front entry. Prophet Noble Drew Ali was initiated in these places. He was given nothing more than a glass of water, and blindfolded and told to find his way out of this. That was his test. This ain't something that's just new, because there were other adepts that was even made after him. This was a common thing. You see the silent majority that was over there at that time, seeing him as being the reincarnation of the last living pharaoh. This is what we teach. And this is why we touch on Kemet from the Moorish standpoint, because that's the way it was brought to us. So it is said that he came out between the paws of the Sphinx the next morning while the sun was rising, right? But nevertheless, he brought us 7 degrees so that we may be able to go through this experience that he went through simultaneously by physically going through the initiation. He brought us 7 degrees to take us into the realm of self-mastery, so that we may be able to go through that special state, and master ourselves with the knowledge that he brought back to us. So if you notice here, it says, as it is above, so below, as it is within, right? And we say so without as well. The secret places of the hidden God. Notice that we're not saying God is hidden in a structure. We are saying this structure is symbolic to you. And so therefore, God must be somewhere in the essence of your being. And this is the purpose of coming into self-mastery, to know thyself and the God within you. Why are we seeking out the God? Because that is the true Heruphant within you. The God within you is the Heruphant within you. It is the God being the Heruphant that reveals the mysteries. So now you're no longer dealing with mystery. Now you can see the reality of what it is that you have been seeking, or what you have been searching for, right? So if you notice here, it tells you up here in the king's chamber, this is the passage of the veil. This is said to be the chamber of the open tomb of resurrection. This is way different than resurrection as you hear it in the church. This is where you have been raised from a dead way of thinking, from a state of sleep and slumber. You have been raised into the marvelous light of your own consciousness to bear witness to your own divinity. See, this is what we teach. We ain't trying to preach to you and Bible thump you and browbeat you with no religion. We talk about self-mastery. This is the way that the ancestors demonstrated. This is what it means, for the Neteru to be who it is that they was and who we acknowledge them to be today. Right? Know thyself. They knew themselves. So this is called the royal arc of the solstice. So you know that this has to do with the solar aspect. When you deal with the passage of the veil of the rising, of the sun with healings in its wings, as the book of Malachi and the Piscean records would say. So in order to get here, you got to come here first and foremost. This is called the chamber of ordeal. And all of this has to do with states or chambers within your own consciousness. What is the chamber of ordeal? Where you deal with, issues, where you deal with, different situations, that cause you to basically be, let's just say, be in bad predicaments and situations. You think your life over, you believe and know that your conditions can be better, and you try to change that. So this chamber is a chamber that exists within your thinking apparatus. That's what this is symbolic to. So once you come out of this state of, saying, all right, now I done made my mind up, I want to build, you come on up out of that grave and you begin to move up. First thing you do, instead of you descending back down into that, this is the door of ascent. Just like you can descend, you can ascend. So your ascent starts from here, from what they call the hidden lintel. And then you come up through here, which is the hall of truth and darkness, the double hall of truth. You hear that being made reference to in ancient Kemet, right? The double hall of truth, of Heru, and so forth and so on. Yeah. So then once you come here, the first chamber again you meet is through the Queen's chamber. This is the path of coming forth of the regenerated soul, the crossing of the pure roads of life. Now you do know that the soul has actions, and those actions are thinking, willing, reason, and understanding and remembrance. So once you learn how to properly utilize the actions of your soul to advance yourself, then you're ready to go into the next measure, which I was talking about, the King's chamber, to open that special tomb up, the path of coming forth of resurrection. So once you come up out of that special demonstration, oh man, it's all I can say is you're dealing with a mastermind at that time. That's what you become. Outside of that, this is the veil of life. It represents the base here up under that. That's what's separating you from these two chambers here. And there are 5 hidden chambers, so 2 and 5 is 7, so it's a powerful demonstration. So it says interior features of the Great Pyramid as alluded to in the ancient Egyptian text. You see? So the secret places of the hidden God, again, has to do with that which is within you. And it's really above your neck. So we can see here the same measure. I told you about the diagram a few minutes ago. You see Sirius here. You see Orion again. Pleiades will be up here in this area here. We see the constellation of Draco through Bomb. You see Calcutta right here. What do these things represent? Let's go here. I'm going to blow this up a little bit. If you come to the base right here, you see that this represents the earth or one's own body. Like I say, down here in this tomb. If you look, you can see there are various nerves. The medulla oblongata, the midbrain. We can go through. These are mainly the 12 cranial nerves within the brain. And if you look closely, the brain has been placed in the center of this pyramid, and you see the King's chamber as it relates to the optic thalamus. This is said to be the chamber. Thalamus actually means chamber. You see? If you think I'm playing, watch this. Let me get you here. I don't want to really go into that right there. You see it right here? The term thalamus is the Greek word meaning inner chamber. Its origin dates back to the 2nd century. You see? And when the Galen traced the optic nerve fibers to an oval mass closely associated with the ventricles. Let's look at the image of this so you know what it is. It's talking about this right here. You see? Right there in the center of your brain. You see? And it's a lot of science behind that, because we know that it also has diagrams that shows it as being synonymous with that of the eye of Heru, or the eye of Ra. So this is your chamber. So when you hear us talking about 3rd heaven, in the Adept chamber, and we know that there's a door in the frontal lobe of the brain, and we call that the 3rd eye. You see, this is the reptilian brain back here in the back. You see? Connected to the medulla oblongata, right? So the Queen's chamber, known as the pituitary gland, which really represents Auset. You see, the pineal gland represents Osar, and Ra represents the optic thalamus. You see? Osar receives illumination and projects that illumination to his seed, Heru. You see? Remember, man represents the solar aspect, and the woman represents the lunar aspect, and then the seed Heru represents, the stellar or the star. So we see the doorway here. We see how light is being projected from the queen's chamber. There's a shaft of light that comes from the king's chamber, and it's being illuminated by Orion. The light of Orion is illuminating, this particular chamber. The light of Sirius is illuminating the queen's chamber. And the light here, dealing with the constellation of Draco and so forth and so on, also is shedding a little light down through here. Also, we can see electromagnetic expression of the frequencies that are entering the chamber. So these pyramids were definitely charged, but they had a lot to do with being able to hone or harness, the energy that was drawn from the cosmos. You see? But that's a whole nother measure. So these were more meditation chambers than anything. Some people think they were burial chamber. The burial chamber is down here, but up top, nothing in this area tell you that this was dealing with burial. So if you go here, it's a lot of information to talk about the reptilian brain stem. I showed that a few minutes ago. But then we also have, again, the eye or the star Sirius, the pineal gland, as well being mentioned here, or the phantom, the door or the lucid dream, and the shift to the back of the head. That's when one is dreaming. So all of this has to do with what goes on with certain levels of consciousness in the brain. You see? Orion symbolizes what they call the hypnagogic state of trance, so to speak, a hypnagogic state of trance, or SAW. So it says, when one dreams, one's consciousness naturally shifts to the back of the head. This is why your eyes often roll, in your head and so forth and so on, when you go to sleep, so to speak, right? This is more so the case when one has a lucid dream. One's reptilian brain stem or reticular activating formation determines the depth. Now, this is actual scientific fact that I'm telling you right now. They're telling you exactly how dreams take place, and it determines the depth of one's quantum realm dreams. It is via one's lucid dream that one can contact another from a form of intelligence, which the ancient Egyptian considered to be associated with Sirius. In the essence, one's lucid dreams are one's personal stargate. So when you hear about people talking to their ancestors, depictions they demonstrate in ancient Kemet, of the living communicating with the Neteru, and we always like to use the Black Panther movie when T'Challa went and spoke with the ancestors. This all has to do with consciousness. And when people fast, they can easily go on that type of journey to be able to communicate with their higher medium. Nothing spooky, it's all within you. What's the good in this? The more you know, the more you grow. One's consciousness can shift toward the beyond the top of one's head, whereby one's spirit can fly as Horus, the Heru. That's the whole purpose of purifying the mind and the thought pattern so one can transcend the insufficiency of human knowledge and go into a greater degree of knowledge of the self, which transcends this body. See, we have been taught to think like materialists and think that this world is all it is, and that's what we here for, and this and that is all along, the end all and be all, and whatever the case may be. And then we get up at a certain time well, we done lived our life in righteous living, and all of a sudden we done had an epiphany, a grand awakening, and then we want to change and start getting into this type of science when we should have been in it from the very first conception of coming forth from the womb. But that's a whole nother conversation. So anyway, it goes also in speaking of one's consciousness can also shift towards the front of one's head. And this induces, what they call OOBE, out of body experience, which most people say when they have a near-death experience sometime. Some people even say that the tantric stimulation can make one have an out of body experience or whatever the case may be. But that's a whole nother measure as well. So it speaks of ingress and egress, which is into and out of the spirit world. It says the quantum dream. The quantum plane of reality is the line that unites the divinity and the matter. Because we already know about string theory, and other different scientific terminology that they use to express certain things that go a little bit more beyond what you can see with the naked eye. So all of this right here represents, again, your ability when you end up traveling, and going beyond the plane of things made manifest in what they call dreaming or what they call astral projection. All this stuff is real. It ain't fake. This is basically a measure where it is said that you're actually traveling through different dimensions where you can see past lives, present lives, and the future. And this is where you had certain prophets, as they would like to call them. They had prophets in Kemet, to the first prophet of our moon, the second prophet of our moon. But those who were able to go within that state of consciousness and predict, events based upon, the records that are in these chambers. And some people like to use the term Akashic records. We call them the Book of Allah's Registry of Remembrance. In the Grand Quran, they say al-Kitab are the mother of books. So the true book is above your neck. You see, within the temple of perfected man, above your neck. And this is where adepts are made. We have a statement where we say in our Moorish Holy Quran, man was given a soul that he may function upon the plane of soul. Spirit man, that is. He was given a body of flesh that he may function upon the plane of things made manifest. So functioning upon the plane of soul for spirit to do that, this is the same as what they talk about in the Bible when they say that the angels ascended the ladder of Jacob and they was descending that special. In fact, in the Quran, it speaks of the angels ascending and descending as well in Surah 70. Lord of the ways of ascent. There's also a whole surah dedicated to speaking on the cosmology. It also speaks of serious death in the Holy Quran too. Let's go here real quick. See what they call it? Al-Shira is the only star mentioned by its proper name in the Quran. Right? 53, Al-Najim. Najim, the star. You see? And he who is the Lord of Al-Shira. See? There are in fact two Al-Shiras, Sirius and Procyon, which are in the Arabic star law. Both sisters of Suhail or Canopus resided in the southern star. They also connect this a lot of time, to a lot of deities in the Greek measures or whatever the case may be. Matter of fact, they named a lot of those signs after that. But here, the Quran is also speaking about these things as well. So the same way just we seen it in the Piscean records in the book of Job, chapter 38, we see the same thing here in the Quran. They are both talking about these things, right? So, okay, we got somebody say that doesn't seem real. Prove it. Or we going to in a minute, you know. Now, so now that I showed you all of that right there, this is a excerpt from the Moorish Holy Quran. And it says, one night he slept, and this is talking about Yehoshua, you know, the Egyptian adept that was going through, you know, the degrees that are mentioned. It says, one night he slept in slumber, kept dozed, not alert he was. And at the midnight hour, a door, and this is my chairman's commentary, where you see the parentheses at, a door, which is a mental entrance into the self, a gateway of his accomplished mind that he had not observed, was opened, and a priest in some, which is called dismal, toned down, subdued, muted, not flashy, stylish garb, came in. So this is the adept, the neophyte, potential student adept, you know, Yehoshua, Yeshua, as y'all call him, Isa, you know, according to our book. He was in this special chamber by himself now. And there is said that a priest entered in summer garbs. We know if he was there by himself and he was locked in the chamber by the Heruphant that was initiating him, that this wasn't a real man. This priest, it represented something that was being projected in his own mind. And so this particular thought that manifests as a phantom form said, you are the victim of a cruel plot. The priests of Heliopolis are jealous of your fame, and they have said that you will never leave these gloomy crypts alive. So he was actually in the temple of Heliopolis, in this chamber. But in all actuality, that door that opened that he didn't observe has to do with the door of the lucid dream state, where his consciousness has shifted to the back of his head. And this has to do with, you know, that state that we call where the reptilian brain can kick in. And the reptilian-like thoughts, you know, that come from the innermost depths of the back of your mind, basically, tell you a lot of things. You ever been in a situation? I give you a prime example. You ain't even got to be asleep when this happens. If you in the presence of someone that should be trusted and they can be trusted, so to speak, and you have a thought in your mind that's telling you that they can't be trusted, this is the similar type of thought that Yeshua was going through. He was being initiated, but being that he was took down there into that particular chamber, you know, that thought came up in the form of a phantom saying that these people want to kill you. You know, but that's a whole nother measure. So it was to break his concentration and make him get into a state of fear as opposed to dealing with the task at hand, his initiation. See, anybody know anything about going into the chambers of self-reflection or the chamber of ordeal for self-initiation? You have to be purified. Your mind has to be purged, you know, from all thoughts of doubt, all thoughts of fear, all thoughts of hatred, all thoughts of malice. You see? And only the Heruphant within you can train you, rear you up, raise you up into the consciousness of your divinity. And again, that Heruphant is none other than the God within you. So he was going into the chamber to find the God within himself so that he can become united with that God within the self. That's the whole purpose of life, uniting with the higher state of consciousness. You ain't got to call it God if you don't want to. You can call it the supreme reality if you want to. You can call it the higher self. You know, you can call it the guru within the self, whatever the case may be. But everybody here has that particular purpose, uniting with the highest state of you. So again, this is a symbol of the eye of Ra, eye of Heru. often called sometime the Wajet, sometime with, especially with the serpent, with the wings on it. But again, this is dealing with the same optic thalamus, and we see the connection between the pituitary gland and the pineal gland, which represents the all-saw and the all-set, in union on the rock. So this is the chamber. It's all above the neck. You think that this is by chance that we can see what we call didactic art? This is didactic art. And a lot of our body is based upon a lot of the things that we can find right there in the pyramids, what we can find on certain temples, but that's a whole nother measure. I ain't going there. I'll do that on another time. I'm just pointing out the obvious right here. So y'all seen a lot of this before. So let me give you the other measure coming from the Moorish Holy Quran. And you'll notice that this is not somebody proselytizing, dealing with trying to preach to you. All this is telling you deal with the self. It's telling you about the God within. So it states here in Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 12, ayahs 15 to 23. You are within a holy place, and you will see upon a living shrine the candle of Allah flame. And when you see it burning there, look deep within the temple of your brain. So it's not talking about a literal candle burning within the temple of your brain. It's talking about the candle of consciousness and illumination. You see, if you look deep within the temple of your brain, you will see it all aglow. And at every part from head to foot are candles, all in place, just waiting to be lightened by the flaming torch of love. So love is pretty much the torch by which you are able to light up or illuminate yourself. So in other words, love is necessary for you to become the best you, to come out of the darkest state of mind into the brightest or the light, so to speak. Come from the darkness into the light. You got to learn how to love instead of hate. This is a part of the teachings that the Heruphant teaches. This was taught in ancient Kemet first under what we call Ma'at. We say harmony, truth, balance, right, order, and justice, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, just like we showed you last night in the Book of Fire, the exhuming of a nation. It says, and when you see the candles all aflame, just looking, you will see with the eyes of soul the waters of the fount of wisdom rushing on, and you may drink and there abide. And the curtains part, and you are where the ark of Allah rests. This ain't talking about no ark outside of you. This is talking about the ark that's inside of you, right there in your brain. That's the real ark of the covenant, whose covering is the mercy seat. Fear not, lift up the sacred board. The tables of law are in the ark, concealed. It's concealed right there within your brain. Do you know the soul is within the brain? Sciences will tell you that. You didn't know that? No wonder why people have cognitive dissonance. But anyway, fear not, lift up the sacred board. It says the tables of the law are concealed in the ark. So you know right from wrong anyway. Of course. But you have to be reminded. And that's why you have a Heruphant to guide you, a Heruphant to initiate you into your higher self. Ain't no feeling like being enlightened, family. If you've been ignorant all your life, blind, deaf, and dumb, easy to be led in the wrong direction, hard to be led in the right, ain't no feeling like being enlightened and illuminated. Knowing why you're coming and why you're going, and not just willy-nilly. Not knowing what's going on, naive. So anyway, it says, take them and read them well, for they contain all the precepts that man will ever need. It's in you to be what's in you, right? This is where your true tablets of metal netta are. Right above your neck. It says in the ark, the magic wand, for they contain all prophecy, lies waiting for your hands. It is the key to all the hidden meanings of the present, future, and the past. Then I tell you that when you're able to tap into your consciousness, you can tap into those things that deal with the past, present, and future. So again, it says, the cherubim have guarded well for every soul this treasure box, and whosoever will may enter in and find his own. To each is his own. We all have the ability to do it, but how many of us want to go within the self? How many of us want to put in the work to study our higher self instead of living in the carnal manifestation of the lower self? How many of us want to do that? So here's another diagram. The sacred halls of Ta'apet. You see? A true and living temple of God. And for those who don't know what Ta'apet is, that's the proper way instead of saying Thebes. Ta'apet is the proper name. So anyway, if you notice this schismatic diagram, didactic art again, you see the brother standing here and his body is based off of the temple of Luxor, which is a real temple. This is called the Grand Lodge of Luxor to us. This is where all masonry get they, hand-me-down degrees, so to speak, from the European standpoint and the Scottish Rite and the York Rite, and they talk about the temple and the Holy of the Holies and Solomon's temple. This is the prototype of the temples. And we can even show you, these temples as we go further into it. I'm going to show you real quick. Watch this. We know Luxor existed first. And you come into make sure, because I want to show you. Okay, here it is right here. All of them did the same thing, basically. And they also have them most of the time by the human body. If you notice here, come on, open up. I don't want to open it up. See, this is where one is coming in through what we would call the legs, so to speak, right? This is the legs all the way up to the head portion. Get into the sanctuary. The Holy of Holies. This stuff we can't make up. And every particular people actually built off the same watch this. Every particular nation built on this same science, family, when we deal with the temple of perfected man. Here's a perfect one right here. See the feet right here coming from the bottom, Boaz and Yakin. You come up through here, these represent the arms. These are the pre-cells, the holy place. You get all the way up to the top turban. This is the high priest right here, family. All of this stuff is based off of the body. See it right here, the same thing, the temple in man. The first temple. See how they got 3 different temples right there? And this, they don't just stop here. We can go into a lot of temples of Buddhism and they show the same diagram, family. This stuff is built. See, this is temple as a body right here. Boaz and Yakin again. That's where they got that from in Mason. Well, I'm teaching you something more ancient than Mason. That ain't to take a shot at them cats. It's just telling you the truth. You see? So the body has always been synonymous, with the temple. So that's what these charts represent. This is when you get into the science, of life, the science of your divinity, if you want to study the self. Now, some people, they don't like to study like that. So they'll make excuses up, just not to study themselves. But we'll let them do what they do, But I like to study self. So this ain't nothing secret. This ain't nothing new. For those who already had a knowledge, you know what it is. Temples were based upon the bodies of man. That's why it says in the Bible, Know ye not the air, the temple of God, and the Spirit of God dwelleth within you, which temple you are. In this case, we the temple. And it tell you the eyes, the light of the body, as it relates to the pyramid, right? So when you understand that and you come up here, see the optic thalama right there, the chamber? That's that Holy of Holies right there. See the axis of Amun is what it says actually up here. A true and living temple of God. The axis of Mut and the axis of Amun right there. You see the human? So once you understand that, then you understand that your initiation doesn't take place in a building under some high priest that make you jump through hoops, swallow a little fire, and so forth and so on. Whatever they have you doing. The true initiation of the Heruphant takes place within you. So here's another measure. And this is coming from the Piscean records, what we call the Bible in the book of Acts. Watch this, Acts 17, 23 to 25. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, watching your worship, right? I found an altar with this inscription, the unknown God, whom therefore ye ignorantly worship him, declare I unto you. The God that made the world and things therein, seeing that he is the Lord of heaven and earth, dwelleth not in temples made with hands. So he ain't in there. If you think he in that building, when you go there every Sunday, he ain't there. He ain't there when you go in the mosque Friday. You see, he with you everywhere you go. The Heruphant is within. See, carnal thoughts and carnal tools are useless in the workshop of the mind where thought is used to build character. So if you think you're going to use a hammer, to build your character, what you going to beat yourself up with a hammer, hit yourself in the head, they're going to put you in a straitjacket if you're thinking like that. So carnal thoughts, which represent carnal tools, these are bogus building materials. You can't build nothing with that. You see? So it says, this is the Bible telling them that. How they don't know this though? It says, neither is worship with man's hands and carnal thoughts, because we know the hand is symbolic to the mind, to us. So as though he needed anything, seeing they giveth all, he giveth to all life and breath and all things. So the concept has always been directing man into himself. But it is man who chooses to serve gods outside of the self in whom he know nothing. And that's why he is not being admitted into his own adept chamber. This is an old measure I found here showing the same thing. You see the diagram of the pyramid within the head, and it says the adept. This stuff actually exists. And so that brings us to, when we speak of Prophet Noble Drew Ali and why we say we deal with adept knowledge, he was the Egyptian adept student. And no, he was not the student of Dr. Hamid Suleiman. Suleiman was teaching Shrineism and Masonry. Prophet Noble Drew Ali was teaching exactly what he came to teach. Suleiman came back from Egypt with Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And he aided him in co-founding, so to speak, the Canaanite temple. But he was not the founder of it like most people been lying and saying. And I'm actually the one that put the pictures of Dr. Suleiman out there. I just had one of them Europeans who wrote that stuff trying to act like Suleiman was the teacher of the prophet. I just had one of them hit me in my inbox and ask me, can he get some of my information so he can use it in a book? I ignored it because you done wrote about 2-3 different things. I'm talking about people like Jacob Dorman and who else it is? What the hell? Fatih, whatever they call it. Y'all seen the different things on Dr. Suleiman and the Moorish Science Temple. They wrote that stuff, and I ain't giving them nothing that they can try to use against the prophet and twist it the way they want to and lie. You see, so we ain't doing that. But we got other stuff, and I will be putting it out there in my book, and show you that this particular guy most definitely wasn't the founder of the Canaanite temple. He was trying to teach masonry and Shrineism, and that's where him and Noble Drew Ali fell out at. Not because he was in opposition to him being a Mason, but because they was on two different pathways, so to speak. But that's a whole nother story. So you see, Prophet Noble Drew Ali tell you, he said that he could cure a lot of things, anything that we wasn't born with. He was Dr. Sebi before Dr. Sebi was Dr. Sebi. He was in prison just like Dr. Sebi for teaching his people, what to eat, teaching his people. I got some of the Prophet oil teas and compounds right over here by me now. Every time I get, a little form of where I ain't feeling well, and I take, what he brought, I be feeling all right. And I don't get sick often anyway, but his remedies are most definitely active. They ain't passive at all. So anyway, right here I quote in the Moorish Holy Quran, after all of that being said, the teacher treads the way on every span of ground. He leaves his footprints clearly cut, which all can see that he assured that their master went that way. Men comprehend the inner life by what they see and do. They come to Allah through ceremonies and forms. And so when you would make men know that sins are washed away by purity in a life, a right symbolic may be introduced. And that's what we demonstrate in this particular Egyptian rite of self-initiation. The right symbolic is being introduced here. So what we find out, since we know that everything is within us, instead of being outside of us, we first start with the concept of letting it be known when we're talking about the seven Ali, or the seven eyes of Allah, the seven chakras, or the logo circle 7. To us, all of this has to do with the pathway through which the initiate, or the neophyte, or the student adept must come through. See? Also known in the Kemetic way of expressing it as Shanu Safek. Shanu means circle, and Safek means 7. So anyway, if you notice here, you can see, that Shu is actually lifting up the boat of Ra. And there are 7 netters in the boat. 4 here, 3 here, you see, and then we see the unity of Keper, which has to do with the beginning of creation. We see one coming from on high. And see the sun here, right? We'll go into that in a minute. We're finna get into all of that. But I want to show you that, as I stated earlier, the adept is within you. So the master that's spoken of often in our Moorish Holy Quran, to us represents Heru Ami Abu. From the Kemetic standpoint, this is the dweller of heart. This represents consciousness. This is the Kemetian adept master within you. This is the Heru within you, right? And then you have the guide, that tell you to move in the right way. Don't go there. That silent voice that tell you that, that's the guide, Ra Heruakti, or some people say Herukati. You see, Herukati and Anpu, right? This is the spirit man within you that guides you through the underworld or the upper world, so to speak. You see? So then you have the scribe within you, the Tehuti within you, the keeper of the records in your consciousness within you. We call it the thought of Allah, the thought of God made manifest. So the scribe is within you, right? The priest in some garbs that I spoke of earlier that came forth, To us, this represents the Hekakasut thought pattern, which is a demarcated thought pattern, often a thought pattern based on barbarism and savagery. This is what we call NBC thought patterns. You know, that Negro black colored thought pattern that we was taught to think with, that is not good for us. That ain't nothing but the European in your consciousness thinking for you. So we have also the priest of Heliopolis and the priest of Amun. Amun means hidden. The Himneti Tepa in Amun. The Himneti Tepa in Amun represent higher thoughts of consciousness. This is where prophetic revelations come from. Within you now. All this is in you. The revealers of the light. Good thoughts. Then you have what we call the higher priest or the high priest of Ra. You see, elevated thoughts of enlightenment. This is where the great seers are able to express themselves through you. Your ancestors able to speak to you through you. You see, ascended masters are master thinkers. The Shemsurah is what we call them. All of this is above your neck. These are principles that exist and express themselves through you. Then you have the tempter, which is the lower self, or what we call the Shemsi Ab. And you see what's getting done right here. You know, they call this murking too. Young generation say, I'm gonna murk something. You know, the word murk means go to war. And you see, you know, the priest standing up here going to war with the serpents. They got 3 heads. Look at all the reptilians down here. You got to go to war with that thought pattern, family. You got to go to war with that thought pattern, that Eurocentric thought pattern. You got to take that thought off the count in order for you to become a master thinker. The white robe priests represent pure thoughts. That's clean and pure thought made manifest. Thoughts that give you the ability to build something instead of destroying something. Shimsi in Tehudi. Then we have also the brothers of the silent brotherhood, the Shimsu Netar'ah. And all this has to do with those thoughts you're able to tap into, or the voices that you're able to tap into of the ancestors when you go into your retreat of silence. And then we have the Heruphant, Amin Ra, the higher self, or who we call Mar. You see? So once you understand that all of these exist within you, the true hidden God is within you. When you go within your chamber walls in the heart and mind, within your soul, you're able to read the text within you. Because that's what Yehoshua was told, go within himself and find himself. Do some soul searching. He was told to reflect upon the hieroglyphs on the wall. He wasn't given a dictionary. He was told to contemplate the meaning of them. Right? So these symbols represent a silent enigma, the voice of the great God within you. They don't represent alphabets like people think they do. That's a whole nother measure. So Metanetta actually has to do with being able to read the book of creation, understanding science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. These are formulas. We're going to teach y'all that in a little bit too. We're going to start breaking these things down in the formulas that they represent according to the gematria. So sacred texts, which came from the hearts and minds of our mothers and fathers, represent the saving power that will deliver us, which is called the Meksha, Netta, right? The gloomy crypts, this is Maya's school of illusion. This is the antechamber. It's just like the chamber of ordeal I talked to y'all about in the beginning. The trial chamber of hypocrisy and the room of resolution where you can resolve all your issues. You know, also it can become a burial chamber if you ain't careful. The judgment seat of All-Star, that's the seat of consciousness. You know when you're doing right and wrong. So every day that you raise up is a day of judgment where your heart or your consciousness, not the blood pumping organ, is being weighed against the feather. And your heart should never outweigh the feather. There should be a just balance, and that's called a meiotic balance. And that means that the hemispheres of your thinking are rooted in truth and right. But you had to be raised by a Heruphant. You had to be taught by a mastermind. Then, once you come through all this, you receive your scroll of self-certainty. Ain't nobody else going to give you no rewards and say you did a good job by becoming a mastermind. Hooray, hooray. No, you have to be certain in the fact that you have mastered them demons, mastered them phantom forms, mastered the illusions of life. All of these things you can make applicable to yourself. It ain't got nothing to do with religiosity. And this is the same thing that was taught by the ancestors. The spacious room represents an open mind, the hidden upper chamber. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is waiting for you if you're able to come into it. So that's basically the gist of understanding, the knowledge itself. And I ain't going to go into all these, the list of the mudras and all that right now, because that's a whole nother breakdown. Mudras actually represent the ability to heal oneself, and open up different pathways. So a lot of people that run into, and the whole key is the mudras also allow you to awaken and elevate your consciousness into illumination. And that's why you hear our brother Ankh, always talking about the coccyx bone. It's all actually called the coccyx or the coccygeal. You see, that's the proper way of saying it. But at the base of the coccyx is called the scimitar sacrum. That's what they call this in science, because it's shaped like a scimitar. You see how the scimitar is shaped? And so this is actually said to be where your scimitar is forged at. This represents a cord serpent. They call it Kundalini energy. You see? But there's Kemetic knowledge that relates to this same science as well. We'll get into it. That's also the same thing. So your scimitar is forged at the base of your spine. But anyway, these are more mudras. You see people demonstrating this, in a lot of different lodges, and they make you think, okay, well, you communicate with your hands and these type of gestures, you can get through certain doors, and that's dealing with the worldly thing. But in the realm of self-mastery, these things actually open up portals within the self. That's why you see them doing this among our people, in China. Among the coaches of martial arts, you learn these mudras because they have to do with self-healing techniques. Being able to open up blockages. So instead of traveling in the world talking about you being acknowledged by tokens and signs, in this particular teaching that come from our ancestors, it actually represents opening up pathways so that positive energy may flow and that it may not be blocked. So the Heruphant can move to and fro as he will, so to speak. Throughout, that energy can travel throughout the body. Blockages are the main reason for illness, family. A lot of us have blocked pathways and frequencies. You see? This is why we can't get the wealth we look for. This is why we can't have the better half that we look for. This is why we can't come into the better self, that we seek to be, because we have spiritual blockages. Your energy is blocked, family. Even if you want to look at it from a scientific standpoint, blockages cause harm to the body. What do you think a blood clot is? Or blood clots? You see? But that's a whole nother measure. So understanding all that, and I showed y'all this before, some of us know about the 7 degrees of self-mastery. This is how we come up out of these things. We learn how to control, our physical self. I'm going to go a little more in depth in this particular drawing here. I always scam over them, but I'm going to go a little further into the actual aspects of this, So this is our system of the rites of initiation. We call them the black fez, the red fez, and the white fez degrees that we have to come through, dealing with a purification by the elements, tried by the elements of earth, air, water, fire, and it's the ether that purify. So the first point coming out of the room of ordeal, we deal with that neophyte. For admission, we talk about earth. Preparation, the purification of the body, development, control over your physical appetites. You can use that knowledge. If you think that you can't use that in the real world, you crazy. Because if you ain't got no control over your physical appetites, you're going to end up being greedy, ain't you? And that greed can end up with you having health problems and everything, can't it? But your physical appetites don't necessarily deal with just the things you put in your body. It has also to do with the things you put in your carnal mind. Because that can get you in trouble too, right? So this is preliminary testing in emotional response, intelligence, willpower, and obedience. That's what one has to be prepped for before they even enter into the grotto, or the first 3 degrees of the black fez degrees, right? And then we go through, again, being tried by the water, the opening up of the way. These are words of power that allow you to open, your blockages and your pathways. This is initiation, purification of the emotions, development of love, and mastery of the emotions. Pestep Heru, Pastafora, Pastaforis. Then you have the second, which is Nuak Heru, Neochords, craftsman, decipher. You see, the element here is air. The temple guardian is who you become. All of these degrees, you become a manifestation of them as you master them. You have your master, words here that are used to open up the way, huhi or ihu. This is transmutation, purification of the mind, development of understanding, and mastery of thoughts. If that won't allow you to transmutate and go beyond, carnal thinking and become a master of your own mind, then I don't know what will. You have Mu Ahlu Neferu, which is melanophorus, or melanophorus, some people say. Master initiate is what you become at this particular level. You try it by fire. What does this represent? Once you master this, you become a temple high priest. This is where you're able to tap into that energy, or that seat of Abu, the dweller of hearts. And then the exhumation takes place, the exhuming of your spiritual body from the physical earth, or the physical body, right? The development and mastery of the willpower can only allow this to come about. And the ability to act in service in any conditions of life, experience of humility, death, in the underworld. Ain't nobody outside of you guiding you through this. It's the Heruphant within. It's the God within you that's taking you through these degrees. That's why we call them the Egyptian Adept rite of self-initiation. So you have the red fez degrees after you come through those first 3. And this is the second. You see? And this is Kastep Heru, or Kistophorus, or Kistophorus. This is where you become the ancient builder / adept, being tried again by the earth. You see? The temple master adept, Ayah and Yah are the words used here, and will lead to your resurrection or emergence into a higher life and consciousness, defeat and mastery of all self-illusion and vanity, investment with the powers and attributes of an adept. You see? Once you move from that, then you go into Ba-al-Huta, which is Balhate, what we call the philosopher / master. You got some clarity now. You can speak some truth. This also has to do with the element water, chemia. So you're dealing with some alchemy here, right? The temple guide is what you become. Kim and Cam are your words of power, Heka, which lead to ascension, defeat and mastery of the typhonic energies of life. That's that reptilian-like, dragon-like thought pattern. So you have to turn your base thoughts into golden thoughts. That's alchemy, the alchemy of life, the chemistry of mortal life, mastery of the processes of life, alchemistry. Then you have the sixth, which is Ashutara Musa, which is astronomers. You go into the knowledge of mastering the stars, dealing with astronomy and so forth, astrology and so forth, astrologics, right? Mar is the word here. Seer or priest. Air is the element. Ibis, temple scribe. Tehuti, right? This is the word of power that leads to unification between you and the divine. At least it starts the process. So astronomy before the gates of the gods. We're going to be talking about the gates of the gods. Discovery and knowledge of the divine principles in their spirit plan. So this particular degree, after coming through those three, that's 6 in all, this is the 7th adept degree, the white fez degree, king's chamber. Only God can bring you into this consciousness. Sefeknu Pekaru, or Sefek Penkar, a Propheta, illuminated one. This is also a spin-off, of the name that Joseph was given, Sephanet Panet. So ether is the particular expression here. Ether brings a purification to the elements and brings about unity within the self. Adin is the word used here. Adin represents the garden. This is your own garden above your neck. The garden of paradise is above your neck. You see? Eden, Adin. So you become a temple grand Heruphant at this particular level here. Ish and Isha, which deal with spirit man and spirit woman being synonymous with Shu and Ashu. You see, of ancient Kemet. This is where the concept of enthronement comes from. These words of power. This is also a word that's synonymous to the words used in the Orisha faith to bring about active principles. So enthronement deals with the man who knows the mysteries, full illumination and unification with divinity. This is where you become one with the supreme reality. You become the conduit through which the great God expresses itself. When you become a true Heruphant, you become a revealer of the light. Those things that have been kept secret, you proclaim from a housetop. Because Heruphants, again, are revealers of the light. Heruphants don't conceal the light, which is why I'm showing you what I'm demonstrating right now. We don't keep secrets. We keep it sacred. Our burial is really the entombment of the original white fez, and this commentary is from my chairman. And it comes from the Exhuming of a Nation, too, and the Book of Ali. Our burial is really the entombment of the original white fez, of the Moorish Egyptian adepts being changed to red, then finally the black fez, worn to this day. The pure meaning of the white fez is God, but when the purity is slowed down by the rate of atmosphere, it becomes cooled to red. But the black is a word and not a color. The word means death. The Turks don the black fez because it means they are the chief morticians of the African God-man, whose code name is infidel, heathen, NBC, or Hiram Abiff. Through Western Freemasonry, some Moorish in the West have been marked with the black fez to denote their continued enslavement. See the Book of Ali, page 6. So now that you see, all these particular measures here, that's the gist of those 7 degrees. So what did we come up with the concept of the 7? We just showed it to you in many different ways. The base of the pyramid is 4, yet it moves up in a triad. That's 7. We showed you that it's 2 chambers, in the the Great Pyramid, which is Queen's Chamber and King's Chamber, and there are 5 hidden chambers also. 5 and 2 is 7. The subterranean don't count because that's the chamber of ordeal. You see? But let us go a little further into this information. We got some more things we're going to share with you real quick, so that you get to know, the Heruphant. So let me pull this up real quick, and the Egyptian Adept. I got a couple of different books, so I'm going to just quote from these things here, because they really excerpts of books, and it's dealing with the power of initiation. It says the initiatory revelation consists of transcendence of illusionary personality and the dropping of all bondage temporarily. Arthur Versilius, The Egyptian Mysteries. The word initiate means to begin. However, it is a word colored by romance and fantasy. The reality of the initiate mind is neither romantic nor prone to the fantastical, but clear-sighted, focused, and universalized. An initiatory progression is to be found in all living primordial traditions, and these may be traced back by roots of metaphysical lineage to the Kemetic rootstock where Plato, the great seed bearer, was initiated. In the Egyptian Mysteries, Versilius writes, it is no coincidence that some of the earliest alchemical texts are attributed to Egyptian adepts, for the initiatory science of the remembrance of one's angelic origins is indeed fundamental to the understanding of the Egyptian tradition. And it goes on, but I was pretty much clipping what is necessary to my measure. Here's another measure here. It says the word hermetic is very old, indicating the studies and the teachings of the preeminent Egyptian adept Hermes Trismegistus, which is another name for Tehuti or Thoth, as they would call him in Greece. Or they say Idris in the Grand Quran, also known as Akhnuk, Enoch, biblically. But anyway, it says he is often considered the emissary between humans and the gods. Hermes is also intimately related to Thoth, or Tehuti, just like I said, the Egyptian god of wisdom, magic, right? It says, see the figure below, which I'll pull up in a second. Quite a lot of divergent material has been placed under the Hermetic banner over centuries. That's another way of trying to come up with a Greek aspect. They use the term Hermetic instead of Kemetic. So anyway, it says, however, the underlying theme of all Hermetic philosophy is that the mind shapes reality. As Hermes Trismegistus himself puts it in the Corpus Hermeticum, the mind then is not separated off from God's essentiality, but is united to it as light to a sun. Remember, I was telling you about the unity, between the Heruphant and man within. This mind in men is God, and therefore, right, and for apart itself, this calls some of mankind of gods. It says, and their humanity is nigh unto divinity. In other words, near divinity. As I said, the key to the ancient and the new Hermetics is that the universe is mental. The universe is a great mind. The ancient Hermetic axiom, that which is above is like that which is below. To accomplish the miracle of the one thing states the same thing in a different way. Your mind and the mind of the universe are connected, it says, inextricably. To accomplish the miracle of existence, by learning to understand your mind, you will learn to understand the universe. What's more, by learning to control your mind, you will learn to control the universe. And this is why we have initiation, systems, self-initiation systems, that you become a master over your own thoughts. That's the whole purpose. See the formula up here being held up by Tehuti? Torah. So, here's another measure here. It says, in the final line of his learned commentary appended to the monumental work woodcut project known as Arch of Honor, right? It says Heruphant made for Emperor Maximilian. It says the first by a team of designers, artisans, and advisors that included Dürer, Jurd Kodler. It says Hans Sprinkly. These European got some funny names. Wolf Trout and Albrecht Altdorfer. It says the court historian, cartographer, cartographer. It says in the Royal Astronomer of Johannes Stabius, 1468-1522, invited the beholder to collaborate in prize and loose meaning from what they call the Gargantian pile of symbols and signs and figures and forms before him. It says, and there are still many other ornaments of his arch honor, about which so much more could be said, and which the observer may explain, interpret better for himself, but which I omit for the sake of brevity. Stabia's stance in the beholders of interpretive freedom may sound like post-mortem primer and descendant meaning, but it is better understood in distillation, it says, of German humanists and convictions about the nature of the curious picture signs spread across the architectural zones of Heruphant, picture signs rooted in the human study of hieroglyphs. It says profound reverence for the esoteric character of the old Egyptian letters originating with the god king Osiris, Altan Egyptian Bushtabin, Herkumen Vandem Queen Osiris, United Stabius. It says with other leading humanists such as Perkimir, the intelligence behind Heruphant's conception. To these men, the symbolic language of hieroglyphs transported through thought something like primordial ground of philosophical and theological reason, a coded container for pristical theologia, waiting to be unlocked by those in possession of its key. A step toward discovery of that key was taken with Pickering Hammer's Latin translation of Greek treatises of hieroglyphica written by the Egyptian adept Horace Apollon. And that's the book written by Horace Apollo that believed that the hieroglyphics, was symbolic and metaphoric. They called him Egyptian adept as well. So I'm showing you that this term ain't something that was originated, just during the time of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but there are always those who have been known as Egyptian adepts, family. You see? And in fact, Manly P. Hall, a 33rd degree Mason, tell you that every Mason pretty much honor, to the highest extent, an adept. An adept and a Mason is two different things, though. He's talking about it here, speaking on the principles of what they call Egyptian magic, which is nothing more than what we call Heka, based on an elaborate system of correspondence depending on a formula. It says the evolution of what material follows the type of symbol of emanation of the spiritual and the spirit of matter are opposite forces of the same mystery. The Egyptian adepts regarded the conceptions of the mind and aspirations of the soul, the words of the mouth and the functions of the body, possessing analogies, and they talk about them symbols again, from which a complete system of rules of life and death can be constructed. Moreover, they looked upon each body of manifested being as material basis of a long vista of immaterial entities function as spirit, Netzeru, right? Soul, mind, and the formative, creative, and archetypal works. And they depicted these on temples too. Here's another measure. 3,000 years ago, Memphis of the White Walls was a college city of the Egyptian adepts. Here, the initiates governed their school according to divine universal laws, the goals of secret schools, and revelation in the sphere of mortal activity designed of the invisible college. The very earth itself is to be the campus, and nations and states and classroom, humanity, student body, those dedicated to essential progress, the teachers, and the eternal sciences and arts revealed by God through nature, the curriculum, until all men and women towards towardness recognize both their responsibilities. It says in their opportunities, the work of secret schools is not finished. So it's basically saying by you going through all of this stuff right here, living your life, and so forth and so on, you go through life and you are being initiated through degrees of consciousness, whether you know it or not. This is why we say your true adept chamber is above your neck. So it says, oh yes, now I know that the ancient Egyptian adepts spent a lifetime in such strict preparation for the night of testing of the spirit. They devoted their lives to absolute discipline in order to be able to truthfully recite the 108 things they had not done against mankind, like the Ma'atic law, right? It says, and now I realize June was far ahead of me on the path of becoming a student adept in those secret studies. That's another source I have. I got a lot of this stuff, but I clip it out and put it on my pages. But it's all coming from different books. You know what I mean? All you got to do is go to Google Books, Google who the Egyptian adepts are, and it'll tell you that all the way back to the 1817, 1600s, if you want to go back that far. So I'm showing you that the concept from all these different books, though, these excerpts that I have, they're all showing you that to be an Egyptian adept, it all has to do with what we call self-mastery. Being able to control your carnal desires. You see? Being able to master yourself. It ain't got nothing to do with nothing spooky. And you don't have to go in nobody's chambers hidden nowhere, because your chamber is above your neck. I showed you earlier. So it says in 1674, he published yet another book, Egyptian Knowledge instead of Historical Hermes, who had discovered how to transmute base metals into gold. That's that alchemy we was talking about. You can transmute your base nature into a golden spirit. Or we call that also a phoenix being reborn from their own ashes. The great Greek authorities had studied in Egypt, and it was the glory of Paracelsus that he had rediscovered the truths known to the Egyptian adepts. And that's dealing with a measure coming from the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus again. So this thing is like over and over, it's saying the same thing, dealing with the Egyptian adepts here regarding the conceptions of the mind and aspirations of the soul, words of the mouth, functions of the body as possession, analogies from whence a complete system of rules of life and death could be constructed, the tree of life. Moreover, they look upon each body manifested being as the material basis, and this is actually quoting the same thing that we read earlier in another one of the measures. So they basically quote the same work. So, we can go all the way with this right here, but this is one of the most important out of all of them I have, because it relates to the temple of perfected man. It says, what do you mean? I reply, excited by their great reference to the structures. It is said that the middle chamber of the Great Pyramid resonates the note of C major, the synchronized channel to experience out-of-body astral travel. Right? Bernie chimes in. Now, I showed y'all the chart earlier dealing with this type of stuff. There were several tests that the ancient Egyptian adepts had to pass before being accepted as acolytes along the spiritual path. Prophet Noble Drew Ali's test is he had to be blindfolded and find his way out of the bottom of that pyramid. They said if he didn't, he would die there, like a many men had before him that they thought was basically supposed to be the one they say he was. So anyway, it says Fergus continued 6 years of mind training was necessary even before they were allowed to enter the Great Pyramid to commence initiation. It says one of the major tests was to swim along a narrow passageway inside the pyramid filled entirely with water. Bernie states designed to be too long for the human being to hold their breath and swim through without drowning. The test was such that it forced the adept to literally exercise mind over matter. That sounds impossible. It is, but they still did it. Walking through the walls of the stone were tests of adepts as well. that had to master. But it was the final test that everyone most feared. What was that? Entering the coffin placed in the king's chamber in the middle of the pyramid. The coffin, I replied aghast. So, these are different tests that one had to go through. I heard people even say when they deal with the concepts of masonry, some people say they was buried, alive overnight. I wonder where they get these concepts from. So yeah, it goes on, dealing with these special measures, family. Here's another measure dealing with the concept, of the Egyptian adepts. And this actually talks about the ka, and so forth and so on. So I got a whole bunch more. These are all different books that's speaking about the Egyptian adepts. This knowledge is out there even among the Sufis. See, the Egyptian Sufi adept Abdul Wal Al-Hab Al-Sharani, 1493-1565. So long before, like I told you, we know Sufism is connected to Hermeticism at its roots. Long before Prophet Noble Drew Ali came forth, there were many adepts, who came before him, and he came in a long line of the lineage of the adepts, and those who came through the tradition and the rites that he brought, through the adept degrees that was taught in his chamber, they are the ones who came through, his particular rite of initiation, which we have those degrees that we just displayed before you. Here's another measure. I know thy name is understood by the Egyptian adepts, knowing the essence, real nature, as in the phrase, I am one with your essence, the soul, on entering into the physical life is clogged. Essentials of the mystical doctrine are one the world over, meaning that no matter what somebody's standing with their teachings, really the truth is one. The Egyptian adepts will always use the same type of direct and indirect teaching. The richest teachings are in short teachings, and they conceive of many functions of the deity, the logos, and this Egyptian chapter, wherever day is used, it is to be understood as meaning spiritual life, and night as a meaning of earth life. So, they talk about, the brother Yehoshua being initiated. We actually had him going through the same degrees that I just went over with you. So all of that lays a foundation, knowing that these were dealing with 7 degrees. Where did we get this concept from? Well, we know that the number 7 deal with the numerical science of the 7 creative spirits. This is what we was talking about when we mentioned the cyclic 7. 7 is at the root of everything in creation, family. That's why the circle 7 is what we demonstrate. 7 has to do with, even all the way down to what we call mitosis, as it deals with the cells and replication of the cells and so forth and so on. That all deal with 7 too. The number 7, if you were to look here, you can see how easy it is to come from the center of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And if you're coming from the center, you can actually see that 4 and 3 is what? 7. 2 and 5 is what? 7. 6 and 1 is what? 7. You see? And when you go into dealing with the multiplicity of all this and you add it all the way up, we get the number 28. Once we go into the gematria, and we add that, to its other number, and we get 42, which the 42 laws of Ma'at become manifest. And this is your 7s manifesting 3 and 4, 2 and 5, right? 6 and 7. 6 and 1, 1 and 6 rather, and then 7. So that's 3. This 21 is very important, because that 21 plus this 7, when you bring it down Again, that's the 28 that drops here. And then we also have the 1 and 2 that's isolated over here. And then that represents government to us. This is dealing with just simple gematria now. Then you have 28 A, B, G, D alphabet, 24 with the vowels that are added on by our people. Often not mentioned, they just say 24, but it's really a 28 letter when you include, everything else in there. So we see the 2 and the 8 is 10, or 2 times 8 is 16. You see? Then we have isolate this 0 and the 1, we get 1, right? Then we have 6 plus 1 from the 16, and we get 7. Then we have 7 plus 1. 7 times 1 part itself is 7. And so we show this as being, the 1 represent God, who we call Allah. 7 represent the 7 Ali. Then the 7 postulates as well in our Moorish paradigm. There's another knowledge too, when we go into this grand drawing, because we also understand, that all of these numbers added up from every number that we have here through the math. All these numbers along with these, they equal 144, and then we basically add it all up and it comes to the number 9. 9 represents re-entry. 7 represents a constant cycle. You see? So we have what we call the conceiving phase of the Ennead. The Ennead represent a certain beginning of cosmology. You see? So there are different teachings on the cosmology, 3 of them to be exact. So the Ennead of orderly manifestation represents the number 9. The Ennead of reunification represents to us, our government, we here now, based on the laws of Ma'at, based on everything it is to be a government of the world. This is my gematria chart on breaking that down, just dealing with the number 7. I was able to build all that up. We know Tehudi is the father of letters, and his wife here, Seshet, is actually the mother of numbers. You see? But that's a whole nother lesson in and of itself. This is actually, I didn't even mean to put that there, but that's a good one too. You have those in the temple, the noble order of temples of Moorish science. The Moorish Orthodox Church is what they call themselves too. They have a different set of degrees than we have. They got the Adept Grand Master, the Adept Heruphant Master Wizard. They all coming from the aspirant level to the novice and novice here. So they have 3 extra outside of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That they break down 8 and 9. They got a whole bunch of different degrees they got in there, different from what the Prophet brought. But this is the one through which they make their particular sheiks through. This is their adepts. And you got some more of them. They call it 3rd heaven like we call ours 3rd heaven. But, it's not the same as the degrees that we have. So you got different ones, who have, and this one in actually in reference to the same place here. Our teaching comes straight out of Kemet. Now this brings us to this point. Where do we get this knowledge on dealing with the 7 from? We was talking about this last night when we spoke on the Amduat. It all has to do with, what we was talking about before, the field of Aru, Sekhet Aru, or Sekhet Allah, right? This is known as 3rd heaven. It represents the Amduat, the Duat. You see the scimitar in the form of the leg of the ox or the kafesh, because that's what they call that, the scimitar. And you see the stars here. This is all dealing with, a representation of the heavens, 3rd heavens. See, this is another depiction of what I was showing y'all earlier about the 7 Neteru right here, coming out of the Amduat, basically. We can see the symbolism here. The serpent is also synonymous with the scimitar. See the serpent here above the star? It can be equated with that, and then the eye be right here, and then you have the 7, which is right here in the seal that we have. All that we have comes from the ancient ancestors, directly and indirectly, family. And that's where I took this piece here from. See the arrow pointing to it right there. So anyway, it says the exalted eye of Allah, the circle of the seven Elohim, scimitar and star Egyptian adept symbol depicted in the beginning of the Egyptian cosmology. And I was showing that here. The symbols and what they symbolize. The seven again, scimitar and star, forming the serpent over the star, the Seba, and then the eye. All of those symbols are depicted right here in this creation cosmology scene, with Shu lifting up the boat of Ra. And even the boat itself is shaped like the scimitar. And then the man under it represents the star in all actuality, arm, leg, arm, head. You know what I mean? All of this stuff is right here. We can't make this stuff up, directly, indirectly. Here's another depiction of the same thing. Same boat looking like the scimitar. We see the 3-step ladder right here. So we had to emphasize, how man unfolds through them 3 degrees of angel, cherubim, and seraphim, which we deal with, and we say wisdom, will, and love, and so forth and so on. See what I'm saying? See the 5 beneath the scimitar as a representation of the expressions to us, the principles of harmony, truth, balance, right, order, and justice. 5 beneath the scimitar. In action, the principles in action. Love has the ability to manifest itself in the flesh. Truth do too. Peace do too. Freedom do too. Justice do too. See? As above, so below. Flesh divine. These are the Netaru. So we see the Amduit being depicted here. We see where I got that scene from. They have more of those here. So, we're able to see the signs of what we demonstrate in everything. Even the concept of what they call a Kaaba, in all actuality, was really a remix of what they call the Bin Bin. See the Mir Kaaba? Wow. This is Mir Ka and Ba in his hand. So what? Mir Kaaba. Look at what's being projected from the head. Intelligence, enlightenment. Right there. See the Seba, the star here? Man, our ancestors wasn't playing. So when you see the word Baka, and also Mecca, this is you turning toward the Ka and the Ba within. You see? Here we have it right here, the cherubim, seraphim, angel, and man. This is actually a chart of showing, what it takes to become an executive ruler, of the true Mecca that's above your neck. It go back through that same path of the 7. You see? See how I say down there, man is human spirit clothed with soul made in the form of Allah? In other words, we ain't dealing with no spooky stuff outside of. We talking about going within the self. These are charts that are showing you they're based on that 7, family. The 7 is what we draw upon. See right here? On one side, dealing with the spiritual aspect, we're talking about that scimitar sacral at the base of the spine, the sword of life. Once it's unsheathed and raised to the heights of above the neck, so to speak, and actually you have to use that scimitar to cut away all ungainly parts, that negative lower self. That's what we use the scimitar for. You got to cut off that stream of pleasure, where you want to deal with being in the lower self. Cut off the soil of carnal life, in your abdomen area. All them passions and desires. You see? Then you can go into the throne of power and stand in the fence. You see? The heart chakra. Then you go up here into the breath of heaven. You can demonstrate that. Words of power. Then you go beyond the breath of heaven into the adept chamber, third heaven, above your neck. Your mouth. You got 2 eyes, you got 2 ears, you got 2 nostrils. These are your senses, but they're pathways. 7. Based upon that 7, family. We don't play with it. Then you got the throne of Allah, the crown chakra. That's why we say man will be taken up above the sun, moon, and stars around the almighty throne of Allah. So on the man side, dealing with the physical aspect, we come from a misnomer, alien nation, being a nationless person, to a Moorish American national, descendant nature, to an adept, which is also special agent Mufti Corps, security and defense now. Then we come to a state of where we have our own prophet. He himself came through prophethood, divine constitution, and supreme laws based off of the Ma'atic law. He came through the degree of what we call angel. And so we are now all swift angels. We have our own declaration, proclamation of status and jurisdiction, and going again above the neck into the chamber, you have executive rulers. The grand body, they represent the cherubim, because the cherubim, according to Circle 7, represent those who stand in defense. And then last but not least, we have Seraphim, which represents the spirit of the Almighty God, Allah. You see? That's what we all trying to get to. 7 acts in 7 days, family. The grand Heruphant, the Godhead of man, the master of Allah's nature, master of all nature, sovereign power of the consular magistrate, family. You got to be that before you can lead a nation. So that's the purpose too. The reason why you have to become one who masters yourself and come into self-mastery when it comes to knowledge, why it's necessary for us to become adept, so we don't be acting like all these other people out here act, because they ain't got no training. Some people call it home training. But we got our home training right over here in our Moorish American government. You see? So, if you want to ever go to my website, family, it's called Mathino's Archives, Arcanic Archives of Tehuti, because a lot of the same information in here. We dealing with the science of the 7, family. Now you understand when we talk about the 21, when I showed you them 3 7s, you see 7 right here, 7 here, 7 in between, what we call the golden cord of love. Then you see another 7 here, but those are our symbols that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us back. And if you look here, veiled within this chart here is a tree of life, and it's connected to the Kemetic tree of life and also the 42 paths of Moorish wisdom. I'll show it to you. I have to scroll it like that. So these represent a veiled expression of our Moorish tree of life, which is dealing with the ancient Egyptian Moorish rite of the mystic crypt of MISRAIM. Everything we got comes straight out of Kemet. And if you look here, the symbolism here is showing Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the Heruphant. He's actually demonstrating what we teach in our Moorish paradigm when it says that, he would better be able to aid our brothers and sisters from the plane of soul, because there the enemy can't hide. So this is symbolic to Ali working from the plane of soul through us, his grand body. You see? And all of these symbols have meaning. The salvation, the great God looking over man, the meeting of the minds, unity. This represents us being a nation. The 7, our seal, the perfect people, right? The fez, if you notice it, is above the symbol of our swift angel emblem, because it's not what's on the head, it's what's in the head. So all the wisdom that's here is basically beneath our fez. The lion lays down with the lamb, that's really symbolic to us learning how to get along with each other. And also peace among men. You know, where we get the wisdom from, where the prophet got his revelation from. And all of these are symbols that Prophet Noble Drew Ali had, you know, on the charters of the MST of A. That's where all these symbols come from. You know, I just put them here in this particular area to express in a collage what's said. And this is showing that, you know, he is most definitely still here with us in spirit. Because our ancestors only died when you stop mentioning them. So anyway, this is called the Sacred Groves of the Order of Makusatek. Then we see basically the 42 Paths of Moorish Wisdom, which is really an unfoldment out of these same symbols, 1 through 10. They come here. And these actually represent, like I was showing you, all those Kemetic deities that are inside of us. This chart represents a similar measure. This would be the head. This is a tree of life, a Sephiroth chart, as they would call it. And it corresponds with what I just showed you above in that first picture and collage. And coming down here, we have a Grand Sheik. We have a chairman, but we have a Grand Sheik and a chairman within us. You see, we have a 3-step ladder within us. Belief, faith, and fruition right here. See? That's the degrees we unfold through. You know? So, we also have assistant Grand Sheik that uses the hammer of repetition within our consciousness. You know, a national secretary of the state that brings about the balance, plumbing that line. You see? These are the tools that we use in the workshop of the mind, what thought is used to build character. You see? The National Grand Mufti, which is symbolic to the scimitar and the star, the flag. See? Which is from the axe family. These are all tools that Prophet Noble Drew Ali mentioned. The plane, the 3-step ladder, the hammer, the axe, the plummet, the square, the national assistant national grand mufti, the square. You see? Salvation, that represents the line of divinity. Then we have the compass, which is represented by the silent brotherhood of swift angels. That's all of us as a whole. We are the ones that keep our conduct square within the nation by these teachings that we bring, so that we will be properly fit to rule. You can't rule like a Negro. You got to be taught how to be an adept. So that's the reason why it's necessary to learn this stuff again. So they got the national treasure of Moorish America, and our wisdom come from all different schools of thought and theology. You know, and so this is a representation of also how we use the chisel and the saw. You know, so that's the breakdown, because all those are the carpenter tools, but they also represent us and represent our stations. Before you can honor a Grand Sheik or a chairman or assistant Grand Sheik and, you know, different officials outside of you, you got to honor the Sheik, the chairman, and the Sheik within you. You see? So everything deal with going within and making ourselves masters. Comedian Adept Manual and use of the carpenter tools. And it tell you here exactly why we use these tools. These tools remind me of the ones we handle in the workshop of the mind, where things are made of thought and we build up character. Why do we use that square? To measure our lines and straighten up the crooked places of the way and make the corners of our conduct square. Why do we use the compass? To draw circles around our passions and desires and keep them within the bounds of righteousness. Why do we use the axe? To cut away the knotty, useless, ungainly parts and make the character symmetrical. We use the hammer to drive home the truth and pound it in until it becomes a part of every part. That's what I be doing up here when I be teaching like I teach. I'm using the hammer of repetition so that you get it. If you didn't understand it the first time, you got it this time. If you didn't get it this time, you'll get it the next time. That's called using the hammer of repetition. We use the plane to smooth the rough and uneven surface of joint, of block and board that go to build a temple for the truth. The chisel, line, and the plummet and the saw all have their uses in the workshop of the mind. And then this ladder, with its trinity of steps, faith, hope, and love. On it we climb up to the dome of purity in life. And last but not least, the 12-step ladder, we ascend until we reach the pinnacle of that which life is spent to build, the temple of perfected man. And it's all dealing with using these tools in the workshop of the mind, where thought is used to build character above your neck. And like I say, it's just in us to be what's in us. So here's the Kemetic chart. I want to give honors to our family, Ra and Nerfa Amen, because this actually comes from his work Medu Netta. This corresponds with this same tree that we put together here in the 42 Paths of Moorish Wisdom. See? So, when we come back down here, we can see the Al-Sar corresponds with the Allah, and then like the chairman and the sheikh, they correspond right here, with Sekir and Tehuti, and then Assistant Grand Sheikh, Grand Secretary of the State, Mufti, Assistant Grand Mufti, Swift Angels, and so forth and so on. So you can actually unlock the 42 Paths of Moorish Wisdom with this chart by going into the book Medu Netta. See, that's the real key behind all of this right here. The way that was put there. It wasn't put there just for comparison purposes. It was put there so that you would be able to go into the book and see the true function of your station if you are part and partial of this structure that we demonstrate. You see? And so I even did the same thing here. The 7 divisions of the spirit, all based on the same thing, the Duat, that 7-star constellation measure, and all of them also have to do with a reference to the chakra and what they represent in Kemet, the Ba, the Ku, the Sekhem, Ab, Sahu, all these different degrees represent the same thing, going back to the degrees of self-mastery. We see Al-Sar, Tehuti, Seker, Ma'at, Herakuti, Heru, Heru, Sebek, and Aset, Gib, and Seb. All of these names you can find in the book Medu Netta as they correspond to these different functions. So in the Medu Netta, it talks about the part of man's spirit where God dwells. Notice there's Temple of Allah, the perfected man here. But then we have Mag in the grand apparatus of the Holy Prophet. So this is where the great God dwells. His spirit most definitely was working through our Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali to teach us this stuff. Just like somebody else in their particular teaching, their particular God, man, God was working through them. He was working through our ancestors who established different nations. The God is ever present through man. He speaks to man through man. He teaches man through man. When we look into the face of man, we look into the face of God. You see? Not just putting one on the pedestal. All of us have that in us. So it goes all the way into a full breakdown. You can go into this website of mine, Matheno's Archives, and you can go deeper into it. I got a lot in here. Deal with the 7 principles of the Kabbalah, of the Kabbalion part itself. Mentalism, polarity, all them sciences the Europeans have tried to take belong to us, family. They stole this stuff from us, and tried to remix it, and we eat it up. I even break down the concept of the 7 Elohim and the 7 spirits of Allah, dealing with protoplasm, earth, plant, beast, man, angel, and cherubim. And I broke all of that down and showed that the cherubim deals with protoplasm, the spirits of the air dealing with Nu and ancient Kemet. Seraphim, earth, correspond with spirits of fire, Shu, angels, plant, spirits of the water, Tefnut, and men. Whereas the beast, it says the spirits of the earth, Seb. You see? So we have the 4 descendants of Atum mentioned here, 4 elements mentioned here, 4 entities of the manifest, protoplasm, earth, plant, and beast. We have the 4 hierarchical agents: angel, cherubim, seraphim, and man, because that's our nature to be men, become swift angels, and go all the way through the degrees of cherubim and seraphim as well. So we have the 3 physical realms below that deal with the birds, that fly. When they say, "Hear now, ye birds that fly, ye creeping things of the earth, ye fish that swim," all these things are referred to in the Moorish Holy Quran. Ye winds that blow, ye thunders, and ye lightnings of the sky. These actually represent the ethers of the power above. You see? And so 3 plus 4 is 7 again. So, I mean, you can go through this website and see a lot of the breakdowns in here. And the way that we teach, we draw from all books of truth that are used in order to master the self. That's why we draw from everything that deal with self-mastery. It ain't got nothing to do with being religious, getting caught up in one particular text or doctrine. We draw from all of the books of truth and draw the teachings of self-mastery from them. And that's what make you world wide and well-rounded, so to speak, when it comes to the truth. You see? Know thyself, family. Know thyself. You see that scimitar. You see that Draco up there. So family, like, all of this stuff is based off of, again, science of life. See them 7 stars right there? And that Big Dipper? It's all about self-mastery, family. That's what it's about. Whether you go into the teachings of Krishna, whether you deal with the teachings of what they like to call Kabbalah or Zohar, the tree of life, it represents man himself. You the conduit, you the temple of perfection. The name of God is often formed in the shape of the man. Look at that. No matter whether you go into Arabic or the Hebrew, it's telling you that the Most High is working through you, family. So, like, it don't get no plainer than that. It don't get no plainer than that. So now that all you got to do is grow. So in my closing, I'm going to show you this, because I want to open up the floor if it's somebody that want to come in here, if they have some questions. I'm going to go over here. This is actually my flag origins. Let me see. It should take me back to it. Yeah, here it is. And I was just showing y'all this. We already went over those things there before. I'm going back to this point here. Same type of diagram that we started off with in the beginning. Now, if you notice, you see one here, which is known as the cat. This is the physical body. We already know that the meditation is what leads one into going, like we call it, being able to transcend and go into the realm of what we call second Eru or second Aru, third heaven, right? It's all meditation, family. See the Ka, the Ba, and the Ak? Akbar. Akbar. They say Allahu Akbar, Akbar. Ka, Ba, and Ka. Soul and the spirit, right? Notice it's speaking on Urja Minor. See, it's showing that same scimitar. Alpha Draconis. Then you have over here Orionus and Sirius. Same diagram we showed you earlier when we came in. This is the Ament, Raysto, Akhut, Manu. You see, all of these represent different points of your consciousness. That's what they represent, family. Different points of your consciousness. And that's what this represents: the temple of perfected man, subterranean, queen's chamber, king's chamber, emitting through the same areas, light coming through them. So once you understand the concept as that relates also to self-mastery, then you understand the ADEPTs. The ADEPTs represent different degrees that also has a gatekeeper, a watcher, and a herald at each degree. You see, and these really represent you actually being conscious over yourself, and knowing yourself. Because when you are conscious, you understand right here, for example, second Heruphant. This is said to be the upside down face, right? But you got to be one that is able to become, we can say, a gatekeeper over your ability to not be sad. Because that's what an upside down face is, a frown. You see? Then you also have, Semetu, which is the eavesdropper. You got to protect yourself from that particular thought pattern. What about Hua Keru, the roaring voice? You got to stand as a hero when it comes to bringing this truth. You see? Speak it loud. So, Tunhat, right? We have the opening of countenance. You got to be able to open your countenance, right? You got to be the gatekeeper and know when to open your countenance. Not to everybody, right? In confidence of anybody. Also Sekhet Hera, second face, and a lot of that has to do with the heavenly face. That's what Sekhet represents. Sabis, which means glowing. That's what you should be doing. You should be glowing once you get to. So all these are different stages that you come through that deal with the 7 by 3. 7 by 3 again is 21. So these are 21 gates that are mentioned in the Kemetic measure here, and it comes down to this aspect of it. It's really talking about being a gatekeeper, over one's mindset, and a watcher and a herald. When you become a mastermind, that's how you're able to demonstrate. So the 7 arits represent the 7 divisions of Sekhet Aru. Remember I was talking about Sekhet Allah, Sekhet Aru? This is it. And each arit is entered through a gate having 3 attendants: the gatekeeper, the watcher, who announces the arrival of the sojourner, and the herald, who receives and announces his or her name. The names of these entities are known also as Heko, invocations or words of power that grant the initiate access through the region. So you give yourself permission to pass through the region. You're traveling through the Unduat, family. Entry is possible with the knowledge of these words and the virtue superseded by possession of the magical formula. So our 7 degrees are based off of this same system here. You see? And this is just going further into it. These are the 21 gates right here. And you can find a lot of this information if you understand the concept of the Book of Gates. Here's your cycle, that speaks on the concept of the scimitar and the 7, the circle. It's a whole breakdown, the flaming sword that turned every way the cherubim had in the Book of Genesis. All that deal with the 4 corners, the cardinal points of the world, and the crooked sword are the sickle, a symbol of the planet Saturn, the synth of time. See, in ancient Egyptian, it was called Kafesh. I had to correct the brother. He was talking about Kapresh. The brother smashed Rockwell. It's Kafesh, one of the names of the constellation of the Great Bear in the Dendera Plain Spear. It was symbolized by the leg of a hippopotamus or sometime an ox, indicating the thigh, like I was showing y'all earlier, the original birthplace in the heaven. You see? It says, when Saturn represented as a god, the crown was placed upon his head, endowed him with majesty, and making him a judge of the court of justice held in the time of reaping, the harvest time of the golden age of justice. Saturn has remained the symbol of justice to the present day. That's why the scimitar represents justice, family. See, cherubim and cherubs were esoterically identical with the seraphim, being images or likenesses of the celestial constellations, the heavenly hosts. See, we're talking about the Arits. We're talking about the Amduat. We're talking about, these different, like they like to call them zodiacs, and, all these really represent the concepts of constellations. Heavenly hosts, cosmic angels, angles. So those angles that are in the form of the zodiac really represents stations of the angels. And having exquisite knowledge, it is said of the seraphim that they know most, but the seraphim love, or the cherubim loves most. You know, it goes on, family, on and on, demonstrating universal science, family. I showed y'all this last night, dealing with the Book of Gates and the scimitar. We can't make this stuff up, family. See what I said here? Moorish, Resh, the seventh of the time, the Moorish God, man. The scimitar is within the head of man, and the star is within the heart of man. See how I got that demonstration up there? Yeah. We get down. We get real busy with this. And I can go on and on and on and on and on with this thing, because all of it's pretty much confirmation, of all the information I done put up here. So when you see these symbols that we have, these flags in the inside, all of them are Kemetic based, family. They didn't come from no Shriners, didn't come from no Masons, come straight out of Kemet. I'm showing you how all of our teachings pretty much connect, to see it here, saying it again. In the zodiac, the hieroglyphics will determine the nature and origin of the sword, which turned every way in the region of the Great Bear, the Kafesh. See, as before said, the crooked sword or the sickle of the Egyptians called the Kafesh bears the name of the region and the goddess of the bear. The leg of the hippopotamus was its motto. The 7 great stars in Ursa Major, called Kafesh or thigh, it says, form a figure not unlike the thigh leg bending of the knee of the hippopotamus. And it says the leg or thigh of the northern heaven is identified with the great bear in the ritual. So they use all these different names, in reference to the same symbolism, family. We can't make this stuff up. You see? And I can go and show it everywhere. Not only do I have the information to back it up, see, it even talked here in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, these gods that are circling the 7 Atlu, which is that word, where that word Allah come from. See, it says, with term ancestors of light. Our brother Asa Inhotep said the other night, Allah represents the ancestor deity. The Hebrew Elohim, we talked about the 7 Elohim, created light. They were given powers to create. Let there be light, and there was light. Indicates that the 7 were the primal light bearers of the first creation, which was of Sabian origin. Indeed, these generators and ancestors of the light were so ancient, they had been sublimated, divinized, and relegated to a kind of spiritual realm beyond the phenomenal creations described in the book of Genesis. Generations of heaven and astronomical. Esoterically, the 7 stars were the sons of God, the divinities of power, who knew and could impart all the secrets of nature to man, because they represent the books in the heavens, the book of creation. And who could reveal the wonderful but now lost word? The word that is no word has been sought in the 7 names of the 7 first emanations, or the sons of the fire, in the secret scriptures of all the great nations. The 7 were the all-embracing manifested deity only when considered as one. In the later theology, they were materialistically transformed into the one God Jehovah, who was the great mother and one of whose name was familiar, Eve. When Adam and Eve had eaten of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of the knowledge the Elohim were made to exclaim, behold, the man has become one of us, to know good and evil. Now at least he put forth his hand, and also take of the tree of life and eat of it, and live forevermore. And that's why the cherubim and seraphim was put there in the midst of the guard, so to speak. And that really has to do with being able to guard in your conscience. If you think it's a game with this scimitar, look at Amun Ra right there. He got a whole confesh in his hand right here. See it right there? Amen holding the confesh scimitar. It's from E. Wallace Bud's dictionary, right? See the confesh right there? See Amen now giving a confesh to a priest, passing it on. That's what we do. See? And this is also showing Amen Ra, because in the Piscean records of the Bible, when they said, let there be light, the word light was actually Mayor, M-A-O-R, which corresponds with M-A-U-R, in the Egyptian, that Hebrew word, let there be light. See? Luminary, light being, the hidden one, Mar, Kemet, Ore, Ra, the manifested light in Kemet, the hidden light array. So, here's another picture of the scimitar. See, they talking about that great bear, the Egyptians. It's talking about Musketi now. Before they also mention that Kafesh again, right? It also talks about, how it says of the history of the Egyptian language, the Kafesh, which the hieroglyphic writing and the use of the word pyramid text show to have been the foreleg, not only the constellation of the great bear, but also strong arm, strength, and even scimitar. Seth uses the scimitar in battle against the demons. It says, in the course of history, the Egyptian language, Kafesh, which the hieroglyphic writing and the use of the word pyramid text show to have been the foreleg of the bull, came to mean not only the constellation of the great bull, but also strong arm, strength, and even scimitar. Seth uses this scimitar in the battle against demons of disease. So within the self, in your darkest state, that neter, sutek, operates, on your behalf, so to speak, to cut away whatever disease it is that you have within the self. And this has to do with your willpower. So just as we need the higher self and being spiritual, we need, that aggressive soldier, so to speak, as well. And that's what Set represents, in that particular realm of the comedic measure. This is also a depiction of the same leg of the bull or the leg of the ox, they use a leg, they use our thigh of everything. So many different expressions. Here's another measure right here, coming out of a breakdown PDF dealing with the constellation of Musketi, Kafesh, the opening of mouth, Set, Horus, the Big Dipper, the Great Bear. That's what it represents, and it rotates around the star Venus. That's why we say the scimitar, which is the great Kafesh, the Big Dipper, that's why it represents what we have. The foreleg or the thigh is called Kafesh. It's a symbol of the divine and royal strength. You see it right there. See the Kafesh above the star? That's scimitar above the star. So the symbol that we have that represent our flag, it represents, the Big Dipper. So here you have, when they said in one of the measures I read in one of the Bibles, they said Moses, when he killed the Egyptian, that's what he used. Some people say jawbone, some people say the leg, of an ox or leg, of a cat, depending on what translation you're looking at. So if you notice here, you see the priest up here, you see the young seed standing on top of the scimitars, the Kafesh, as they call it. This deals with the constellation again of Musketi. The mouth of God, it is said creation itself came into being from that special area. And I'm just going through this here real quick so I can close this out. Here's another depiction of the Kafesh, or the scimitar, the Big Dipper. There it is there, the same stars we were speaking of in the beginning, of our meaning on the other side of that pyramid, right up here, what I'm talking about. See it here? And that's it there. So let me go back down there to it so I can. Okay. So yeah, that's it right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 stars make up the Big Dipper. So it says the general view of the opening of the mouth enabled the deceased to breathe and speak in the realm of the afterlife. This ceremony is also regarded as an attempt to translate the deceased to the afterlife via archaic magical association with the world of gods. You see, and this symbol here actually fits in the other one up here, which also consists of 7. You see? So here's another measure here where I actually quoted from our Moorish Holy Quran, because the scimitar come from the family of the axe. So I said we use the scimitar to cut away the knotty, the useless, and ungainly parts to make the character. And it's supposed to be symmetrical with the truth, right? Here it says, in the course of history, the Egyptian language, the Kafesh, which is hieroglyphic writing, and the use of the word in the pyramid text show to have been the foreleg of a bull, and came to mean not only the constellation of the Great Bear, but also strong arm, strength, and even scimitar. Same one I quoted earlier, showing it again. We got to use the hammer of repetition. Now you see Al-Sar standing here with that same scimitar on the table. You see Al-Sar sitting here in the realm of judgment with the scimitar here, right? And then when you look in the definition of the word kafesh, foreleg of the animal, arm and shoulder, right? The arms, 2 arms of man, right? Then it comes down here and it says kafesh, strength, power, lords of strength, kafesh, sword, scimitar, any weapon, swords. You see? Kafesh, a blacksmith's forgery, armory, place in which weapons are stored. Also, Kafesh, the constellation of the Great Bear. So that confirms everything that I just said. So when you look at that, and you understand, the real meaning behind these types of things, then you understand how this stuff goes back historically. There's information out there. This whole PDF is on this stuff right here. Urgent Major, Urgent Minor, many name. I showed y'all this last night. Scimitar and the star in the Orisha way of life. And the concept of Abatala being white, synonymous with Alawa Ta'ala, Ish and Isha, Ashe and Ashu, the life force of causes, all that. Same 7 Elohim can be found among the 7 Orisha. What I'm saying, family, in all of this information, I'm showing you how the truth, when you understand the truth, that no matter what culture you go in, you find the same truth, family. That's what I'm saying. This is not an attempt to mix things up together. This is showing you that these people were taken from each other. But moreover, all of this stuff came from Kemet, from the teaching we demonstrate as the Moors, all the way to the Syria people, the Orishas. Everybody has taken something from Kemet, family. You see, and in order to see this, you got to be an Egyptian adept. You got to be a Heruphant. So everybody that be arguing and going to war, about all this type of stuff, we beyond going to war. I'm trying to show you the truth and where everything united so we can bridge the gaps. But most of our people so stuck in their ways, they can't get it. They think that somebody trying to push some more religion on them. I'm trying to show you that everything comes from one source and no truth contradicts another truth, fam. So we can honor each other what different people believe and still honor what we believe. Because indirectly, there's a relation between all of this stuff. It collaborates, fam. See the Kafesh again? Masketi, constellation of the thigh. All these are different sources too, family. These different sources saying this here. I can't make this stuff up. All you got to do is look it up. And contrary to popular belief, They were trying to say that this brother was the bringer of this symbol, Kirkman Bay, to the Moor. No, he wasn't. He took that and did what the prophet told him not to do, because Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, don't mark your fairs, because you put limitations on it. See, he got Sultan up there in Allah and 7, and all the while, he was a real Shriner. You see? What he doing up there anyway? Nothing against the Shriners, but I'm saying this man got a whole mark fairs up here, say Allah. So we already know why he went against the prophet's wishes. He already had his own agenda. But anyway, these are all the symbols to show you that Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought this symbol, because Kirkman Bay wasn't nowhere to be found when Prophet Noble Drew Ali had this symbol on him. You can see this as a spinning jump ring right here. It spins, folks. And I don't care what body you in when it comes to dealing with the Moorish Americans. This is our symbol right here. But on every one of them symbols, whether you deal with this Adept, Jew, you're going to see the 7 on one side. You're going to see scimitar and star on the other side. I don't care what body it is, unless you're dealing with those who didn't come from, a particular lineage. Then you'll see somebody with a 7 and a crescent. But the majority of the emblems that rule is 7 on one side, Allah, scimitar, and star on the other side. Big facts. All these different measures from different grand bodies here. You see? So we can't make this stuff up, family. Like I say, everything we got comes straight from Kemet. Straight from Kemet. Now these ones here, they hiding all the truth from y'all. Our grandmamas and granddaddies, aunties and uncles, all of them done came up through here. But ask yourself the question, how can they have emblems like this that say Allah on them, right? With the scimitar on them. It's disrespectful right here too, because they got Allah upside down. See the head here and the arms here and the legs up there. But anyway, inverted star. Closed at that. But anyway, then you come up and you go in there, you a preacher, but all the while in your closet, you got a fez that say Mecca, one that say Allah, one say Islam, one say Kaaba, one say Ali, but you in the church now. One say Muhammad, one say Medina, one say Egyptian, one say Muslim, probably teaching hatred against Islam. And you got one of these in your closet, Al-Quran. Make it make sense, family. Huh? That's what I want to know. So don't confuse this with this. They are not the same. And I ain't going in on them to go in on them. I'm just telling you the truth. They got to keep that a secret. They can only imitate being a Muslim, imitate being Egyptian, imitate being Ali and Kaaba and Al-Quran. But they get out there, as soon as they get out there and try to live like that right there, then they'll have to stand the heat or come up under that fire and that oasis that we get up under. Being discriminated against, being hated for the name Mecca, being hated for the name Allah, being hated for Islam. But you don't see nobody hating them when they go out there and parade around and dress down in Moorish garb, talking about they represent Egyptian, Allah, and Muslim, do you? Make it make sense. What's wrong with you people? Most of your uncles and your daddies, your grandmamas, and all of them got fezzes that got one of them names on it. So anyway, this is just showing, again, the same symbols, showing how far back they got. This is the old structure, the colonies, where these symbols actually from the older Moors, during the first generation and so forth and so on, first and second anyway. See, they got them up there, an old building in ruins. This is actually a symbol, that is found, among the esoteric societies. And it was actually taken from this symbol, the Star of the Magi, which is actually the symbol of Amani Padme Hum. You know, it comes out of India. The concept of the serpent biting the tail and all of that, they're scimitars beneath the star. Just like you seen the ones put the scimitar beneath the star in this particular picture here. But nevertheless, the scimitar and the star and the concept, this is the Levi's version of scimitar and star. Scimitars rotate. There and it's here. It rotated up here above the star. See that M and A right there? Tetragrammaton, right? Yeah. So when you look at Prophet Noble Drew Ali, just the concept of scimitar, it's indigenous to Islam, man. Scimitar and star, this is actually a Moorish coat of arms right here. This is from the Moors. This is Moorish. This is in Morocco. You know, this is Yemen, Safavid dynasty. Yemen, again, scimitar and star. This is also the Fatimid dynasty. The Al Muwakula, I want to say is what they call them. Another one here. Another one here for the people wondering, where do we get this type of symbolism from? You know what I mean? Like, we can't make this stuff up. All this is synonymous with the same type of demonstration, family. And in fact, when you look at our flag, what we tell you, Prophet Noble Drew Ali got his name, El Sharif Abdul Ali. This is Saudi Arabia flag right here, right? And then you got the flag of Morocco over here. Look at the two elements when you put them together. Because these flags also represent a warning to these two nations, because they know that we they daddy. And they acting like they don't know who he is. You know what I mean? But that's a whole nother measure. You know, this is, you know, what we mean when we say we're going to go up through there and down through there, you know, and really give our people the truth. You know, and again, want to give honor to this grand man right here, the Prince of Peace, Dr. R. German Bay, you know, for teaching my grand national chairman and also taking heed to the prophet, because he was a mastermind. He was a master of the teachings of polarity therapy. But that's a whole nother measure. I'll go into this slide on another time. So what I'm going to do, let me go over here real quick and see who may be out here. And I'm going to probably drop the link and see if our family want to get on here real quick. You know, we going to give you all the truth, family. It may be my fan, family. Somebody say, what's that noise? It may be my fan. Pardon self. If you hear it going around, because I got a ceiling fan, a real powerful one too. So what I'm going to do at this time, and peace and love to my good brother from Tice TV. Brother, you up with me late tonight, man. Honors to you, good brother. It's an honor to be on your show. You know, we over here getting it in. I'm finna open up this, I'm finna drop this link in here so that we can get to our family. And I got a lot, just if somebody want questions or something, they want to come and just contribute to what we build on. I want to give honors to our family too. I'm gonna shout y'all out just in case somebody want to come in here. Honors to the brother Idris Amir, Born Dog. Honors to you if you still here. Butt Naked Truth. 7 look like it says the city. You know, also Cameron Man Bay, Philip Baines. Honors to your family. Gabriel, honors to you from London family. Charles Ward L, Culture Social Podcast. Honors to your family. And Titans. Honors to you. So we got the link in there if anybody want to come in, you know, and give a comment, you know, ask some questions or whatever the case may be. We don't be bucking in here. We don't be trying to kick our people off. Even if you disagree, that's all right. You know, it's all love. So, yeah, this is where we at, though. So the whole measure, again, is showing you the science of where we get, you know, our teachings from. Whether directly or indirectly, they come from Kemet family. And this ain't just, again, for the Moors. This also has to do with all other nations. Everybody done borrowed something from Kemet, whether it be the words, like you got a lot of loan words. Somali have them. man, the Ewe, Igbo, everybody, man, Hebrew people, everybody took some from Kemet. This is just facts. A lot of people don't like to admit it, but we're going to give you the truth as it is. Like I said, every time we come in here, it's going to be that way. I did want to show y'all this too, and get this book, by the way. Y'all got to listen to this brother right here. He's a native-born Egyptian. I am going to show y'all this. And this is in line with the actual title that's going across the bottom of the screen. I don't see anybody try to come in yet on the link, so I might as well go ahead and show you real quick. Okay, so there it is right there. And this is actually the Egyptian Cosmology in the Animated Universe by Mustafa Gadala, native-born Egyptian. I got a majority of his books over here. Powerful brother. But anyway, it says the Cyclil 7. It says the universe is constructed in accordance with the nature of numbers. The number 7 is the first complete number because 7 combines itself, it says in itself, the meanings of all the preceding numbers. For all the numbers are even or odd. 2 is the first even number, and 4 is the second. 3 is the first odd number, 5 is the second. And if the first odd number is added to the second even number, or the first even number is added to the second odd number, the sum is 7. And that's what y'all see me demonstrate right here. Hold up. That's what made me go into, the math like I did. Like I say, the 3 and the 4, the 2 and the 5, the 6 and the 1, the 7, and that's how I came up with all of that math, and I just took it a little further than what he was stating in there. And it was interesting. So anyway, it went on to say, he says, so if you add the 2 in the first and even odd number to 5 and second number odd number to the sum is 7. Similarly, if you add 3, which is the first odd number, to 4, which is the second even number, the sum is 7. And if 1, which is the source of all numbers, is taken with 6, which is a perfect number, the sum is 7. It says, which is a complete number. This is their table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the special property of 7, which no other number before 7 possesses. Facts. And then it says the numbers are 7, 9, 12, and 28, which are the same numbers that I ended up coming up with, after I did my math here. Again, you see, you got the 7, the 28, the 9, all those numbers pretty much became the essence of what I was demonstrating in my own chart. But he was saying that if you do that, the numbers 7, 9, 12, and 28 are the first numbers that are called complete, camille, odd square, exceeding, and perfect respectively. Also, the cause of the exclusivity of those numbers comes on the one hand from the fact that 7 equals 3 plus 4, right? 12 equals 3, right? Then times 4, and then 28 equals 7. 7 times 4. And on the other hand, 7 plus 12, right, plus 9 equals 28. It says the mystical function of the number 7 in ancient Egypt is signified as the union of spirit, 3, right, and matter, 4. Spirit, 3, matter, 4. That's 7. So it says one of the forms that traditionally expresses the meaning of 7 is the pyramid, which combines the square base symbolizing the 4 elements with the triangular side symbolizing the 3 modes of spirit. I mentioned that earlier. Esoterically, because all numbers are to be regarded as divisions of unity, the mathematical relationship a number bears to unity is a key to its nature. Both 3 and 7 are perpetual motion numbers. Divided into unity, they divide infinitely. 1/3, and that goes into 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and 1/7, equals 14285714 2857 and 1. So it's a sequence going on there, a pattern. When you deal with these numbers 3 and 7. We already know 7 and 3 is 21. You see? But anyway, it says 7 is the number of process, growth, and underlying cycle aspects of the universe. Osiris represents the same exact principles. As such, he is associated with the number 7 and its multiples. The 7 of something frequently makes a complete set. The 7 days of the week, the 7 colors of the spectrum, the 7 notes of the music scale. The cells of the human body are totally renewed every 7 years. And they also base, again, when you deal with mitosis and the process of replication, they deal with the number 7 as well. Even down when you get into the concept of what atoms are made of, the 7 is there. So when we deal with the circle 7, it represents life. It represents the cycle of life. And this is why I say the 7 is the only thing that we can all agree upon. The 7 is sacred to Kemet. The 7 is sacred to those who call themselves Hebrews. The 7 is sacred to Islam. The 7 is sacred to those who call themselves Christian. The 7 is sacred to the Hindus. The 7 is sacred to the Buddhists. This is why I say I rise upon the 7. See what I'm saying? This is what it is. So it says the intimate relationship between Osiris and 7 is reflected in these few examples from the temple of Osiris at Abydos. It says it is the only temple that has 7 chapels. There are 7 spirit forms of Osiris, or Osar. It says there are 7 boats of Osar, 42, right? 7 times 6 is the number of the assessors or jurors on judgment day where Osiris presides. It says 42 again, 7 times 6 is the number, it says, of steps leading to this temple. The jet pillar, as a sacred symbol of Osiris, has 7 steps. This is reminiscent of the doctrine of the chakras in the Indian Kundalini system of yoga, which is much younger than the ancient Egyptian traditions. The chakras are centers in the psychophysical structure of man that accord with the 7 constituents of man, along with the link that draws them together, namely the human backbone. The centers of the jet represents the 7 metaphorical rungs of the ladder leading from matter to spirit. Since man is a microcosm of the cosmic pattern, the macrocosm, right? Jet represents the microcosm of universal cosmology. So this same ladder leading from matter to spirit is similar to the 7 degrees that we have when we say we move, through those degrees for self-mastery. So this is why we use this number 7 as a representation of our initiation process. And 7 represents perfection when you reach that degree. It's hard to separate the number 7 from Osiris or Osar, right? The principle that makes life come from apparent death is called Osiris, who symbolizes the power of renewal. Osiris represents the process of growth and underlying cyclical aspects of the universe. Therefore, he was also identified with the spirits, energies, grain, trees, animals, reptiles, birds, etc. The most impressive representation of the concept of regeneration, namely Osiris or Osar, is the illustration depicting Osar with 28 stalks of wheat growing out of his coffin. It is also interesting to note that Osiris's life or his reign, according to the symbolic Egyptian model story, lasted 28, 7 times 4 years. And those are the 28 blades of the wheat, that's coming up out of the thing here. So it says, Osiris's cyclical nature made him relate to the number 7 and its multiples. Very often we find that 7 or multiples of 7 are needed to account for the principle and sequence of growth. Throughout the entire world, menstruation appears to be connected to the moon, and the courses of the moon being linked to the courses of the woman, a woman, right? And the moon is thus the appropriate symbol of fertility. As he waxes and wanes, he is regarded as a dying and resurrecting cycle, the symbol of death and rebirth of the crops, menstruation in woman. It says, on which all human life depends, occurs in a cycle of 28, 7 times 4 days. Osiris is identified with the moon, as explained earlier. Osiris died, analogous to the moon's departure, and it says, and was resurrected the 3rd day after that. The 3rd day is the beginning of a new moon, a renewed Osiris, right? This is reminiscent of the Easter celebration, where, like Osiris, the biblical Jesus, died on Friday and was resurrected on the 3rd day, Sunday, as a new life. So when we look at all this stuff right here, this is a book y'all got to get, the Egyptian Cosmology, family. He go through all the numbers, the 8 and everything, 5. The man is cold-blooded, with his breakdown in gematria. And in fact, I utilize the Egyptian alphabetical letters of the creation cycle, which is another one of his works. I utilize that when I deal with calculations of my gematria. And a lot of that is based off the work of Heruphant, and I think it's the stanzas that were found by those who honored the work of Heruphant Clement Alexandria, who were also considered involved with a lot of Kemetic priesthood stuff. He even go into the octaves of everything in creation. There's a breakdown, on the spirituality of man. He's still going in all the way with the number 9. In fact, in our particular body, we draw off the 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. That's what we demonstrate. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. 1 dealing with divine unity. 3 dealing with triunity. 5 represent the 5 points. A harmony, truth, balance, right order, and justice from the Ma'atic standpoint. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice from, the Moorish standpoint, same thing. The 7, as we just explained it to you, perfection. And the 9 represents re-entry. Has to do with the birth portal, so to speak. So that's why we draw for the 5 numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. That's the system of initiation that we come through. And I'll show you this right here in the Book of Fire real quick, too. Let me see if anybody's trying to get in here. Okay, ain't nobody clicked on that link. So the link is there if somebody want to try to come in and they want to comment real quick. And where is it? I just had it a few minutes ago. Okay, well, what I do this right here. Go to my quick access real quick. I thought I had this open already. I don't know. It closed out. I might have closed it out by mistake. So I'm going to open up the Book of Fire. This is the Exhuming of a Nation, family. This is the book written by my chairman. If y'all don't have it already, get you a copy, man. 700 pages of straight fire. Fire. This is what he says here. This is the only true autobiography. All the Europeans quote this. When they write about Moorish America, this is the book they quote, family. Right here. Let me show you the cover of it real quick. Noble Drew Ali, the Exhuming of a Nation. Written by the last living adept that took care of the wives of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. That was taught through the lineage and taught by the adepts that Prophet Noble Drew Ali made himself. Yeah. Sheikh Elihu in Pleasant Bay. This 700 pages of straight fire. The Book of Fire. Burning falsehood up root and branch. If you really want to know how we demonstrate, and trust me, this ain't got nothing to do with no Arabism. We on a whole nother plane. So if you look here, and we give honors to the chairman for designing this chart, of Islamism, the first religious creed, as he called it. And we demonstrate pretty much respect for all of the teachings. So that's why you see here, to us, we see the love aspect, as people would go into whether you believe in a Jesus or not. You know what I mean? This is what most of them try to espouse, the concept of a love. Even though Christianity really wasn't given to us like that by the European, we know that's what our people relate to, that draw for that. You know, the gospel and spirituality, and you got truth, which is a representation about Muhammad's portion, you know, what he brought. You know what I mean? And then you go down into the next measure, you got peace. This is from Buddhism, enlightenment. All of these teachings exist in our Moorish Holy Quran. Buddha is mentioned in our Moorish Holy Quran. You know, the teachings of Islam, teachings of Yehoshua, teachings of Confucius are, you know, those that come out of that area, that's freedom. You know, harmony, balance, and all of that right there. You know, and so we draw from all of those things. That's why you'll never see me arguing. You know, I'm trying to show you how we won. That's why I resonate with this truth, because it resonates with me. I always had a universal mindset. I always had a mindset to be able to read. When I was studying Islam, though, most Muslims don't want to study nothing outside of the Quran. When I was studying the Bible, most Christians don't want to study nothing outside of the Bible. So being that I had a universal mindset, more science fit my paradigm, you know, better, because I like to read all literature. And that's what Prophet Noble Drew Ali brought us in that small little pamphlet. And it's a lie when they say Levi H. Dowling was the author of it. You say he got it from the Akashic record. Stop it. We already know he say his own out his own mouth. We got the proof there where Levi H. Dowling said these documents existed in Sanskrit. He just claimed he didn't get him from there. So go figure. See, y'all didn't know that neither. I'm the only one that actually debunked somebody on that lie years ago. In fact, it was Tehuti that I debunked on that lie. Talking about Levi H. Dowling wrote. No, Levi H. Dowling stole that stuff from the people that was of India, just like the rest of the Indologists did. There was a movement called the Indologist movement of the European. They went over there, they remixed the clocks and calendars and everything else. But you got to do your research to know this stuff. If you don't know no better, you're going to believe what somebody told you. You see? Don't take my word for it. Go and do the research yourself. So what is being said here when we deal with this, say, world's first religious creed, it's showing that basically the truth was one. That's what that chart really represents. So here, the chairman came in, he said, Islam, and this my teacher. The one Reggie claimed that he want to challenge. He don't want that type of smoke, but the chairman wouldn't entertain him anyway. But it says, Islamism by the numbers, the true mystery system out of Egypt, which Noble Drew Ali, an Egyptian adept master called Islamism, is founded upon the science of numbers. Men comprehend the dynamics and the origin of infinity by understanding numbers. The equation science of numbers gives rise to all seen and unseen worlds. Geometry, algebra, arithmetic are the thrones for astronomy, medicine, architecture, calendars, art, religion, creation, civilization, order of the universe, and the harmonies of life. All are contingent upon numbers. The mystery system of Egypt acquires its strength from the 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. These are the strong numbers because they cannot be divided evenly, unlike 2, 4, 6, and 8. Here are a few examples of the creative powers of those positive numbers. 1, origin, creator, causeless cause, rootless root. 3, there are always 3 steps on the master's carpet. The triune law, wisdom, will, and love. Egyptian, initiation, illumination, and perfection. Yehoshua, belief, faith, and fruition. Drew Ali, member, sheik, and adept. Mastery, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Freemasonry, apprentice, fellow craft, and master mason. Christianity, Islam's natural enemy, is structured in illusions of the 3-step Egyptian mastery system. Its European churches assert the Trinity of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. This is This God has only one begotten Son named Yeshua, or Yehoshua, who was created in Rome's Vatican with pure European features. These are just too many gods to serve. This man-made threesome is colloquially known as the white man. It says, and they are made in the likeness and image of European interests. Freemasonry, the masterful liberal arts degree of Christian Science, and the chief protector of the Christian creed, also functions upon the semblance of the Egyptian initiation, illumination, and perfection. The 3 degrees in all Freemasonry is under the auspices of apprentice, fellow craft, master mason. See Freemasonry. Here in the night lodges, Masons secretly don the ancient Moorish diadem, the fez, that the Muslim men have worn openly and freely for thousands of years. 5. The highest principles: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Organs: head, right arm, leg, and arm. And this deals with actually limbs. But it says elements: ethereal, fire, water, air, and land. Ruling planets: Venus, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter. The North Star: the 5 pentagrams, 72 degrees each, equaling 360 degrees. Right? The 7. This deals with the ancient Kemetic mystery system. First degree, Pastophorus, medicine and science. Second degree, Neocorus, geometric energy, shapes and structures and designs. Third degree, Melanophorus, the science of non-polarized energies, e.g. time, finite duration between life and death. Fourth degree, Christophorus, the inherent laws of growth and relativities from light and sound, e.g. vegetation, music, colors, crystals, and metals. Fifth degree, Balhate, the science of nature and alchemic laws, logic, philosophy of transmutation and realization of simplicity from the most complex. Sixth degree, Astronomers, the manipulation of the cosmic powers in harmony with the human body and other living things. The Polaris, interaction balance with the body and the galaxies, and the study of stimulative, sedative ethers. And then it states 7th degree, Propheta, the wisdom of God in man. The right of Emmanuel, Adept, and prophethood, conquest of self, God realization, the Christ. So this is the unfoldment. You become the Christ when you realize that God is within the self, when you conquer the self. That's what propheta mean, family. It said these are the 7 degrees of the ancient Egyptian mystery system. The 7 represents the totality of divine creation. The ancient ones developed the curriculum for the 7 degrees from the completed circle of creation. There were 7 days in the circle, which totals everything made. Each day marked the completion of an ethereal life form from its alpha to omega. There are 7 days in a year. There are Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It says there are 7 created spirits with their ethereal planes. And it goes on, but it says, hold up. Okay. So yeah, it says the number 9 and the goddess. The woman also symbolizes the life encompassing power of 9. And she sits upon the holy throne of goddess when touched by a god. From this exalted station, in 9 months, the goddess alone can create and build a temple for Allah without the sound of a hammer or use of a nail. The temple is called man. Man means thinker. In Freemasonry, the Moorish goddess is called the widow. This is because Masons, it says, are those disguised as the 3 ruffians that have knocked her African god Hiram in the head, leaving him civilly dead. See Freemasonry. Today at best, this goddess of the Nile, 9, being alone without a husband, man, or God, is the only widow amongst the nations of the earth. In the United States, its territories, the new African widow is colloquially spoken of as single mom, or my baby's mama, or self-proclaimed bitch. See single moms. Nevertheless, this widow is another Western misnomer because man cannot die. The spirit man is one with Allah, and while Allah lives, man cannot die. The human seed that came forth from the heart of Allah, the husbandman of everything that is, threw forth his human seed into the soil of soul. He became Lord of all the kingdom of soul, and thus there can be no widow because Allah is the husbandman. Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 1. No other woman on planet Mud divinely inherits the title of goddess save the queens from Africa. The only reason bitch is applied to her in the USA is because in science, a bitch is an unprotected female, it says, of any species. Her god man has been displaced and has no current jurisdiction over her or their children. The 9 being triune times 3 is further illustrated by the 3 stages and 3 degrees of the perfection of man. The adept deification of man. Allah equals wisdom, will, and love. Prophet equals initiation, illumination, and perfection. Man equals belief, faith, and fruition. So it states, through these 3 steps, times 3 degrees, the ancient ones perfected the mystery system of Egypt. It was so perfectly developed until it became known as the only straight pathway of perfection, e.g. salvation, redemption, or religion. It is the holistic philosophy of these sciences which became the way of life for the ancient Moors over 25,000 years ago. This became the first religious creed that was taught in degrees to initiates over a period of 2 to 3 years exoteric and 12 to 18 years esoteric. Those who were initiated by circumcision and completed the first level of self-mastery received the title of sheikh or adept. Graduates of higher degrees received the titles of God, prophet, Christ, Messiah, and their life's work was called divine ministry. Moses, Abraham, Boaz, Jesse, King David, Solomon, Hezekiah, Joseph, John, and Yehoshua, Isa, all received their prophethood from the same Egyptian mystery system. Some, e.g., Melchizedek and Yehoshua, were a virgin birth of the Adepts and received the highest God degree called Christdom. All prophets in Christ were distinguished with their own symbol of perfected man. Moses received the staff, David the star, Yehoshua the circle 7, Noble Drew Ali the circle, scimitar, and star. Each part of a symbol represented a degree of perfection. The logos is the perfect word, the circle is the perfect symbol, and the 7 is the perfect number. Chapter 13, ayahs 2 and 5. This is full of the lotus of God and man, also taught by the Siddha Guru masters. The holy prophet Noble Drew Ali brought the Egyptian mystery system in the highest degree ever known to man and bestowed it upon his people, the Moorish Americans. For the first time in 3 ages, 6,000 years, have these lessons been given to the entire nation of people by the ancient forefathers. He divinely instructed the Moorish Americans, there is no one who is able to change man from his descent nature of his forefathers. Moorish Holy Quran 47:11. Being their prophet, his greatest task is to start them to thinking. This ancient system is the old time religion called Islamism. Question 17 through 18. It is not in conflict with the perfecting of your religion in the Grand Quran of Muhammad as brought to his sinful polytheistic people of Mecca, Arabia. In fact, Islamism is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for teaching and instructing all the Moorish Americans. Moorish Holy Quran 45 ayat 1. Islam is a perfected segment of Hotep, Islamism. This is the old time religion which Christians sing for. The Moorish, who were the ancient Moabites from the lands of Canaan and the founders of the holy city of Mecca, Moorish Holy Quran 45, Ayat 2, are the true Sunni Muslims. The word Sunni means original, and Muslims are those who submit their will to the will of the great God Allah. The Moorish are also the founders of the first religious creed, Islamism, historically known as the 3 steps on the master's carpet. The ancient Comedian mystery system. These degrees, once placed upon the 3-step ladder of salvation, belief, faith, and fruition, would raise the consciousness of the initiate to the wisdom of self, the higher self. Through the knowledge of the lower self, the illusions of the world which are concerned with time, one would become a mastermind, adept, with the grace of God, Allah. This true education is the definition of the word saved, which is the root of salvation. Anyone who claims to be saved and is not free with these true knowledge, or this true knowledge of themselves, is in a fiend redemption of Maya. They are still slaves to sin. Again, written upon the sacred temples and walls of the ancient pyramids are the words Sutanote, man know thyself. The ultimate goals of the Egyptian mystery system and the Moorish science, Islamism, it says, are the deification of man. This is the most misunderstood lesson in the Moorish American curriculum. Yet the value of all their virtues, standards, and principles rests squarely upon mastering this first degree. Drew Ali was the first to bring the ancient principle, Sutanoti, to them, declaring in the voice of their forefathers, to first know thyself, and know thyself and thy Father God Allah. Prophet Yehoshua, born in Bethlehem of Judah in the house of David, became an Egyptian adept Christ during the 18-year period of his life, not found in the Bible. And that's what the Circle 7 basically is, 18 missing years of the life of the brother Yehoshua. It says the main reason he was so misunderstood was because he was born during the Piscean age. But his life works and teachings were the spiritual bridge from man to Allah. It says it would be 2,000 years before the human family would realize what he has done. All men must do. This is also the reason why Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali could not bring a new religion. He brought the ancient science of Islam, Islamism, as it was also revealed to him in Egypt. The same revelations given to the Holy Prophet Muhammad by the angel Jibril in Arabia. Drew Ali simply returned again to the Moorish that which is theirs through the inheritance of divine guidance. Moorish Americans are often referred to these sacred teachings as the 7 great wonders and mysteries. Even in congregational prayer, they stand with eyes open, raised arms with 5 fingers extended on the left hand and 2 fingers on the right, leveling at the eyes. A Moor's diadem, a head, then becomes the world beyond the circle of the sun. Chapter 2, Ayat 2. Chapter 2, Ayat 2, yeah. This is the prayer stand of all Moorish initiates. All 10 fingers extended with a 45-degree angle, it says, is the prayer stance of the adept, So it goes on, pretty much, because people also have a question about that too. That's another measure. So I wanted to get that to our family so they can see, how we get out, man. We different. We way different over here, family. We way different. I just want to give honors to all of those who gave me a listening ear. Again, I'm going to drop this link and see if it's anybody that want to come in here. If not, we're going to shut this demonstration down, so that our family can get some rest and we can get some rest. And I want to give honors to our family. Everybody that checked in, man, y'all, I'm going to keep bringing this heat, family. I'm a well that never run dry. I'm like the well of Zim when it comes to dealing with this truth. You know what I mean? So I'm going to keep bringing this fire to you. And I'm going to keep opening these books of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding up so that our family can get it and take whatever it is that you need to take from it, and utilize it, man, however you choose to utilize it. That's all I'm doing. I'm just putting it out there. My duty is to convey the message. It's not to convert you or make you believe what I believe. It is to allow you to see what it is that I've been studying, for the last of these 44 years that I've been on the manifest. Not all the 44, but a good little bit of them. So we just say gratitude to the family. And I don't see nobody trying to get off in here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit y'all with a Morris trike. And we're going to take this thing to the next level. Let y'all hear some more of my little music. For those who may have not have heard some. And we're going to see y'all in the next bill. So let me pull this little trike up real quick. And we're going to get it in. Let me see here. Okay, not that one. I want to go with this one right here. This one of my favorite one right here. Okay. It'll be on the next page. All right. There we go. That one right there. That's the one I'm going to use. Okay. Let me see here. Okay, let me put this trike in the key.
Back during slavery, when black people like me talked to the slaves, they didn't kill him. They sent some old house Negro along behind him to undo what he said. You have to read the history of slavery to understand this. There were two kinds of Negroes. There was that old house Negro and the field Negro. And the house Negro always looked out for his master.
Yeah, this that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line. To see my people free, even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, this that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free, even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Blood diamonds in our veins, so we breathe creep. Every nigga's a potential donor for a small fee. Over the years, I gave my blood, my sweat and tears. Upright, independent, and fearless, and it's all clear. They wanna see me on my knees with my hands out, but I refuse to be a pickaninny chasing clout. Your favorite rapper, honor master, he's a faithful slave. Phallus worshiping pagan rights for minimum wage. And I say the things that these house niggas wanna say. Can't cancel me cause I'm the coach, you watch me lead the way. My footprints are clearly cut cause I'm a big stepper. I leave eternal landmarks, therefore I live forever. My Moorish ties can never be severed. Medieval demons plot to earn acceptance, and I don't have to get ready because I stay ready. Recite these vanishing rituals, these are my confessions, and I got a 7-day theory like Machiavelli. That sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free, even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free, even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Freedom. freedom of speech, just watch what you say. Them devils look for excuses to exercise they hate. And soundbite manipulation justify the case. A pig's only agenda is to control our fate. So many snakes and I miss silent hissing like Judas, filled in malice and greed, but still I see through them. And I can see it in their eyes, they pray for my demise. A crown of thorns upon my head, but yet I hold it high. And I walk with purpose and pride in every step I stride. Cause I made a vow to the ancestors to ride or die. So I bear the burden of many spirits and lost souls. Yeah, I'm captive within the struggle as I unfold. They hold the stripes on my back, look at my broken flesh. I'm speaking truth to power into my last breath. I hear true legends never die, and now I'm legendary. And I live forever through these lyrics, even when I'm buried. Yeah, it's that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, it's that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, it's that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me. Yeah, it's that sacrilegious blasphemy. Revolutionary speech to make them blasphemy. And I put it all on the line to see my people free. Even if it leads to Roman legions crucifying me.
Peace and love, family. I give honors to all of y'all, man, for showing up. And I'm going to keep bringing it, family. You know, the duty of an angel, a swift angel, is to make it rain. You know, we ain't concerned with where it fall or who get wet or who run from getting wet and who got an umbrella. It's our duty to make it rain when it comes to this truth. So give honors to your family. We love you. Uncle Jet Sanel, Shimo Tepu, family. Peace until we see you again.